Good morning, everybody. City Board of Commissioners called to order. We're going to start off with a discussion of FLOST and LHOS with City Attorney Joe Evans.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
So the last 2 weeks have been fairly exciting with a special session of the Georgia General Assembly having started last Wednesday. Will probably conclude tonight. That's the latest word I've got. What made it interesting is the call from Governor Kim, which originally was limited only to redistricting. However, on Wednesday morning, he amended the call. He added to that call previous week, I think, the local acts necessary to implement the local homestead exemption sales tax, which was created this past legislative session by Senate Bill 33. As you may also recall, in the 2024 session, passed into law a bill known as House Bill 581. That's the one which created some confusion and turmoil, I would say, into that calendar year, with various jurisdictions having an opportunity to opt out of the amended homestead exemption provided for in that legislation. You can't have a FLOST, which is the floating local option sales tax created by the 24 law, and also have a LHOS, which is the one created by Senate Bill 33. At the same time, you have to have one or the other if you have either. So the difference basically comes with the FLOST. The county and the cities within the county have to meet, come to an agreement on an intergovernmental contract as to how sales tax will be divided. And then that tax, as it's collected, is distributed out to the governments in relation to that apportionment scheme that you agree upon. You still have to have a referendum to implement. And the referendum to a government, you only have about 3 times during a calendar year in which you can call for a referendum. You have to do so many days prior to the actual date of the referendum that you choose to place it on. The LHOS was different in that the General Assembly saw fit to require the county and all the cities within the county who wanted to participate in the distribution of the LHOS tax, sales tax, to first come back to them for a local act, which authorized the call of the election. What you had with the special session was a number, I think 124, I believe the number was the last period, who had filed, the 24 counties, which had filed local acts. This was being driven primarily by ACCG county organization, trying to get a referendum on the November 3rd date, same when the government runs on this year in November. The cities were a little bit blindsided. Nobody talked to the cities, and most of them were unable to pull together a proposed bill for local legislation in the special session. To make a long story short, even though there were a number of jurisdictions seeking LHOS special session, the Democrats in the General Assembly didn't see fit to vote for the LHOS tax. So another sales tax was somewhat unfavorable toward people on fixed incomes and renters. It would probably drive up the cost of housing instead of contributing to affordable housing. So it came to a vote Saturday on the bills pending at that time. They failed to gain the 2/3 majority that they needed, which is very unusual with local legislation. Normally it's legislation.
Courtesy. And if the local delegation favors it, then the General Assembly passes it. But that didn't happen. So as I said, the session supposedly will end tonight. So it's not going to happen, at least in the special session. Now, Georgia Tech has a Center for Economic Development Research. They have done a study of both FLOST and LHOST. And in their conclusion, FLOST is a much more desirable sales tax to have in a community. It's a stimulus to economic development in that it applies equally for tax abatement across the board. All taxpayers, whether you're industry, commercial, rental property, rental residential property, or homeowner occupied property, homestead property, would all benefit from the proceeds of a FLOST, the same way that the LOST has been applying for years to reduce your tax burden. LHOST, on the other hand, has some problems. There's a strong possibility that that law will ultimately be challenged on a constitutional basis. And one of the outspoken advocates of challenging the Constitution right now is the Democratic candidate for Attorney General, who is currently in the General Assembly. Under the rules of the General Assembly, under their procedures, all tax measures have to begin in the House. Senate Bill 33 did not begin in the House, obviously. So there's a flaw right there. But the other thing is the tax equity concept. It only would reduce the tax burden or perhaps even eliminate the tax burden in some cases, depending on the jurisdiction, of just the homeowner class that occupies their own residential property. And that shifts the burden back to the non-owner occupied residential, commercial, and industrial property owners who are taxpayers. So that's where things stand at this point. We have talked at staff level about the possibility of going back to the county and asking them for the FLOST, if that's what your desire is to do. I don't think it would be, we'll be able to negotiate an intergovernmental agreement and get it on this November's ballot for the referendum. I don't think there's much time. I think we've got like the 12th of July would be the cutoff date to have that accomplished, and y'all are fixing to go to Savannah here for 4 or 5 days, and then we got the July 4th holiday coming up the first day of the next week. So I think that's probably a little too close in time to accomplish it. But you could have a referendum early next year. I think the first date's in March, I believe. I'd have to double check that. But the tax could go into effect approximately 3 months after the referendum passes. So you could possibly have a collection starting in about July of next year if you desire to do that. Or the other alternative is to wait to the next session and then work out an LHOST. Formula for the LHOST is very complex, and it's in the law itself, so there's no agreement between the county and the cities within the county as to how the LHOST is actually to be divided. We tried to get the tax commissioner to give us an idea as to how it would work out in Spalding County as of last week. She didn't have all the data, I understand, together to collect that and to make that determination. But that's kind of where things stand.
So last week when the county commission met and decided to move forward with the pushing forward with LO's county manager gave the presentation basically showing how if they went with an FLOST, that if we kept the same loss distribution based on roughly $15 million of revenue, what 1% would do. Their position was that the city would roughly get 5.7 million and they would get 9.3. And if they went forward with the L-host, based on our population of homesteaded properties, we would get 6.517%, they get 93.227, which means they would get 14 million, and we would end up with roughly $1 million. And so I have a feeling once the session ends today or tomorrow, that the county will maybe reconsider pushing for the floss after talking to Chairman Davis. And so there is a chance that we may have to have a called meeting between now and whatever that date is in July if they move forward. I don't know whether we're being too, trying to get 38% may be more than our fair share, but I think we deserve significantly more than 6% of what they were talking about with the L-host. So just keep your ears open. This is a great opportunity not only to give relief to homeowners, but to businesses, to every segment of our community. And the F-loss, in my personal opinion, is better for our citizens in the city of Griffin versus the L-host.
Based on that split, yeah, it would be.
Yeah.
But the other thing is that how many of our landlords are actually going to pass it back down to the renters? Either way, either one, I don't expect the landlords, especially the ones that are companies that are outside the city, is going to pass their savings on. That's just money in their pocket either way.
Potentially, but at the same time,
It's
this
going to
continual increase in terms of Senate Bill 33 cap the growth of what homestead properties will increase in terms of
Right.
the tax basis, and it doesn't put a cap on commercial, which is residential.
That's what we, yeah,
So,
things,
they're going to continue to get, as
Some
the
ex-
assessor's office continues to push prices up, there is no relief for the property owners other than increased
right.
taxes.
Now,
Keep in mind also that you do have a SPLOST on the November ballot. And from that SPLOST, we were hoping that the city, from its share of that SPLOST, would be able to build 2 new fire stations.
mhm.
Which I don't know how we're gonna pay for if we don't get a SPLOST. But I think adding another sales tax on top of that, particularly with the concern that the Democrats have expressed in the legislature this past week, it's gonna make it very hard for anybody to vote in favor of the sales tax. So it's something else to take into the equation.
When you keep saying the Democrats in the legislature, in the Georgia legislature,
Yeah,
the Democrats don't have the power to stop or block
they
it.
did it this week.
You have to have
They did it
2/3 of the
Saturday.
vote.
Well, they not by themselves, they could have.
Well, they couldn't get a 2/3 vote. They had enough.
Okay, well, if there's not a
Yeah,
two-third
yeah, it wasn't simple.
Democratic
You're right. If it
vote
was
in the
simple
General
majority,
Assembly.
they would not have been able to do it. But they pulled off a good one.
So obviously it was not the Democrats that kept it from going through.
Right.
Any other comments or anything? Thank you for your brief.
Well, I did.
Yes, sir, go
I
ahead.
did just want to say, with another sales tax, I think something similar to what you were saying, Mr. Whalen, about not wanting to vote for it, because another additional sales tax would be more impactful on low-income people. You know, 1 penny off of everything you buy is going to be more impactful for somebody who has a family of $40,000 a year versus a family of $400,000, of course. So I would agree that it probably would make it more difficult to pass, because it would make everything more expensive for the working class.
Yes, sir. Okay. Any other comments? Okay. Moving to item 2, presentation detailing the City of Griffin Police Department operations and functions. Public Safety Director and Police Chief Frank Strickland will address. Good morning, Chief Strickland.
Good morning, Commissioner Taylor.
Good morning.
that's just my little personal pride there. Email and tell me. Well, starting off good. Yeah, thank you. There we go. Thank you. All right, we have a full service law enforcement agency. We have 4 divisions, Office of the Chief, Uniform Patrol, Criminal Investigations, and Office of Professional Standards. At this time, we have 86 sworn officer positions, with 7 civilian employees, 4 part-time crossing guards, and 2 volunteer chaplains. There we go. Uniform Patrol Division is headed by Captain Daniel Jett. The command staff for him is Lieutenant Todd Howard. He's in charge of the traffic unit. Chip Johns, who's supervisor over A shift. And then you got Jason McKinney, who has C shift. Lieutenant Ward, who does D shift. And Lieutenant Jackson, who does B shift. And those rotate out. We work from 6 to 6, 12-hour shift. And you have Captain John Hayes, who is over the CID, and his lieutenant who assists him is Adam Trammell, and Lieutenant Keys, who is in charge of the field investigative team, or the FIT team. And then you have Captain Kaylin Kruger Hayes, who's over OPS, the Office of Professional Standards. And she has Brandon Walden. And Brandon runs our community outreach program, or the Precinct Sergeant Todd Thomas Community Center on Ann Street, which is connected to the elementary school and those children in the afternoon. It's a great program. We're going to try to start another one between Atkinson and Moore. Working on that now. And you have Lieutenant John Kelton, who's in charge of training. And he's going to tell you about some new things we've done and added for training. Pretty impressive what we do. We don't have to depend on Public Safety Training Center anymore. We can do it on in-house ourselves. And then he's going to talk to you about the SWAT team. Now, information on my captains. Daniel Jett started Griffin PD July 7, 2003. He has 2,295 post-training hours. You can see when he made rank, corporal 2007, sergeant 2010, lieutenant 2015, and captain in 2023. He has an associate's degree. He got it in 2012, and he will get his bachelor's degree this fall. And you have Captain Hayes, who started with Griffin PD November 26, 2001. He has 2,671 post-training hours. He made corporal in 2005, sergeant in 2009, lieutenant in 2018, and captain in 2012. And you have Captain Kaylin Kruger Hayes. She started May 5th, 2008. She has 2,284 post-training hours. You have to forgive me, this air conditioner fogs these glasses.
It's cold enough in here.
She made sergeant in 2017, lieutenant in 2020, and captain in 2025. She has an associate's degree she got in 2017. She has a bachelor's degree, 2007, bachelor's degree in 2012, and she's working on her master's degree through the Command College at Columbia State University, which she will complete in 2028. All right, sworn personnel, pay breakdown. We're gonna try to give you some hiring stuff and show you where we are based on age and experience. Under 25, we have 12 officers, which is 15% of the Griffin PD percentage. And in comparison to the national average and the national police workforce, 7%. 25 to 34 is 29 people, 36% of Griffin PD, and 33% for the national police workforce. And 45 to 54 is 11. 14% of Griffin PD, 20%. I think I skipped 35 to 44. So 18 officers, 23%, 32% on the national. And then 55 plus is 10 officers for a total of 80, which is 13% of the Griffin PD and 8% of the national workforce. Officer certifications, which is training. This is what makes our officers eligible for promotion under the promotional policy. You have to have this to even test to be promoted. Okay? Intermediate certification, we have 42 officers. Advanced certification is 32 officers. Supervision, there's 22 officers. And the folks that have management is 13 officers. We have 14 general certified instructors, which means they can teach all of these classes, which lets us stay at home. Firearms instructor, we have 8. Use of force instructor, we have 3. Defensive tactics instructors, we have 1. And speed detection instructors, which help us get our radar recertified and those kind of things, and teach people how to use lasers and radar in-house. We have 1. This is our roster that Ms. Stephanie helps us keep up with for our vacancies. Until Friday, June the 19th, we had 2 in patrol. We filled those with 2 people who graduated from the police academy June the 19th. So UPD is full. Fine. And then criminal investigations division, we have a vacancy in crime scene investigation, CSI. We have 2 in CID as general investigator. And we have 2 in FIT. And we have a sergeant's position open in FIT. Our HIDA position, which y'all approved and passed in one of the meetings here recently, which is the high intensity drug activity area, which is, you know, we send that person off and they go to that TFO, and it helps generate some revenue for us as well based on asset forfeiture and those kind of things. But we do have a position, we just need to find somebody to fill it, who's qualified to fill it. And then we have 1 vacancy in records, and we interviewed about 7 or 8 people yesterday for that position. So it ought to be filled pretty soon. All right, hiring staff, 2016 to 2024. The service population is the community that we're served in the breakdown on their ethnicity. There's 42% white in 2016, 53% African American black, and 4% Hispanic, and 1 other. I don't know what qualifies as a, I don't know. Anyway. At that time, we had 70% white officers who were sworn, 22% black, and 1 Hispanic. Versus 2024, 39% for the census, the population was 39% white, 52% black, and 5% Hispanic, and 4 others. And the breakdown for 24, which is probably pretty close to what we have at this point, was 71% white officers, 24% black, and 4 Hispanic, and 1 other. Calls for service. 2025, we answered 19,666 incidents of calls. 18,504 of those were from 911 dispatch. And between dispatch and self-initiated, we had 38,170 incidents or calls that we answered in 25. Through 6 months of this year, January to June 2026, we have 10,509 self-initiated calls and 7,151 dispatch calls. You can see a dramatic drop between 25 and 26 on dispatch calls. I would like to think that that's because of the self-initiated calls of officers just going ahead and seeing something and doing something. For a total of 17,660. Now, what that's going to be for the next 6 months, I have no idea. But I think if we keep doing what we're doing, and I can tell you, CID and Uniform Patrol are doing an excellent job. I mean, they have really picked it up. They've really stepped up. And we've dealt with a lot of stuff before it gets into something else. They've done an excellent job. And they're working well together as well. Trading information and working cases together, which will help teach some of those patrolmen to be detectives. And I'm done, except for questions.
I was curious, the difference in the numbers, can you hear me, Chief? 25 to 26, on both of those data columns,
Yeah.
was the county, did they help assist in most of those calls equally the same, or?
County helps us if it falls very close to the jurisdictions between the two. And if we ask the county will come and assist us, and we will come and assist the county. I think our relationship with the sheriff at this point is really good. We're training together. That's part of what Lieutenant Kelton's going to tell you about. We've kind of gone in together, and we're helping train each other.
Okay.
So our relationship with Darrell is really good right now.
I was just curious if the difference in the numbers was also with that factor involved, that better relations and more assist with county, or?
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Thank you. You explained it. It was good.
Okay.
They wouldn't change. So the way
Okay.
that they were counted last year will be the same way they're counted this year. If it's dispatched to City of Griffin, it's dispatched to City of Griffin, regardless if the Sheriff's Department helps or not. If it's self-initiated, it's self-initiated by the City of Griffin, regardless if the Sheriff's Department comes in after the fact. So those numbers are counted the same each year. So any kind of relationship building or anything like that would not have changed those numbers.
It's like Ms. Jessica said, if it's dispatched to us, it's ours. That's our state.
That's what I was curious
But
about.
the LevCom 2025 was for a 12-month running total. and
Yes, sir.
the
It was all
26
12
was
months.
for a 5.5 month.
Yeah, it
basic,
was
so
all
half.
12 months,
Okay,
January to December.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Thank you. I appreciate you. All right, Daniel. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Up there in that book.
Firearms training.
For those that don't know me, I'm Captain Daniel Jett, Uniform Patrol Division.
Pleasure to meet you, sir.
Need to get a little closer, I guess. My apologies. The Uniform Patrol Division is made up of currently 51 officers. That includes our 4 shifts, our traffic division, our SROs, and that's it. The shifts consist of, you can see as each shift is a lieutenant, 2 sergeants, and then 7 officers. Those officers can be MPOs or officers, which are match patrol officers. And then the traffic division has a lieutenant, a sergeant, and then 6 officers, and then you have 3 SROs and our part-time crossing guards up under those, the traffic unit lieutenant. When it comes to our patrol shifts, we all work the 12-hour rotating shifts, which consist of a 14-day rotation. They work 7 out of those 14 days. Every other weekend, 6 to 6, and they rotate every 8 weeks. When I say rotate, that means they go from night shift to day shift every 8 weeks. And that's why they're broke down into the 4, because then you got 24-hour coverage throughout the whole time. Those officers on shift consist of 1 lieutenant, 2 sergeants, and then the 7 patrolmen / match patrolmen. Their responsibilities are those initial dispatch calls, self-initiated calls. Everything that comes in through our 911 center goes through Uniform Patrol first. Uniform Patrol is gonna respond to that. They're your first responder. They're the ones that you're gonna have first contact with a uniformed officer 95% of the time, short of showing up at the PD and having contact with someone else. There's gonna be your traffic stops, your citizen contacts, you're getting out and playing ball with kids, all those are your self-initiated calls. Your dispatch calls are gonna be your thefts, your robberies, your murders, anything of that nature, to include accidents, everything that's dispatched from the 911 center itself. Self-initiated is everything that we call 911 and notify them that we're out with. So those are the difference in your self-initiated and your 911 calls. Our traffic unit is assigned by 1 lieutenant, 1 sergeant, and then 6 officers. They work all your wrecks, all your school crossings, your Crescent Road, the issues we have down there. I think they've worked that out for you. They respond to all your tag checks, anything that's traffic related, parades, details downtown that are traffic related. Your traffic unit's the one that's going to be there first, and then they'll be supplemented by our uniform patrol. School resource officers, those fall directly up under Lieutenant Todd Howard. We have 1 at AZ Kelsey Academy, and then we have 2 at Griffin High. They are responsible for the same exact thing as our uniformed officers are, except they're specialized inside the school. So they have to deal with a lot more when it comes to the bureaucratic side of it, of dealing with the school system, the school board, their policies, but then they also have to stay under state law because school system policies can't supersede state law. Then I'm going to let Lieutenant Johns cover our actual stats for 25 and 26.
I know the chief already covered these a minute ago, but I'm just going to reiterate a few things on them. You look on 2025, the 2 main things that I want to point out are dispatch calls at 18,504 and initiated by officer 19,666, which anytime you have more calls initiated by officers, it shows we're a very proactive agency. Projected for 2026, and obviously this could change, but kind of projected by stats, we should have around 17,162 dispatch calls and 25,221 initiated by officer calls. So you can see, again, our agency is very, very proactive, and we get out there and we do it. And that's really the only thing I want to cover on that. But citations have increased, and they'll increase more this year as well than last year. So we are getting out there. Our traffic union is helping out a lot with that as well. And we're just going to keep doing it. Any questions for us?
Any questions for us?
No.
Thank you. Captain Hayes.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Welcome.
This morning I have with me my, my command staff. This is Lieutenant Trammell. He's my number 2 person. Sergeant Smith, Sergeant Ruiz, they're what makes it happen. I'm just a pretty guy in a suit. That's about it. There are 9 investigators assigned to Criminal Investigation Divisions, 2 sergeants. We're on call 24/7, which means we have a detective on call every day. We have a crime scene tech on call every day, and we have a supervisor on call every day. But I want to reiterate this, because I'm not sure we put it in the slide. Just because we have 1 detective on call doesn't mean that's all you get. If we have 9 investigators, unless somebody's on vacation that's out of state or something that's going on, they are always on call. So if we have a major scene that requires more than 1 detective, then other investigators come in. Now, we do have on-call pay for the investigator that's actually on call that day, but the ones that volunteer to come in, they're not paid any extra besides the overtime. They do it because it's what they enjoy doing and the passion that they have, and they want to put bad people in jail. So I think it's good to note the fact that we have investigators who are willing to be on call even though they're not designated on call. To continue on, we have special investigations, CID investigators, Griffin's most serious and complex criminal cases. The CID workload. In 2026, as of June 8th, there were 725 cases assigned, 3,372 case numbers issued, approximately 80 assigned cases per investigator, and 2,861 reports reviewed. The Criminal Investigation Division reviews each report taken, excluding traffic crashes. So that means anytime an officer responds to a call, whether or not it's a civil matter, police information, or a crime, every report in the city comes through Criminal Investigations Division for review. And the reason that is just to make sure that nobody's missed anything. It's checks and balances. Sometimes when you're on patrol, you may get caught up, may get a different story than what initially comes out. It may be seen as kind of borderline whether or not it's a crime or it's a civil matter, but all the reports come through the CID. They are each read by a supervisor. Each supervisor will make a decision then whether or not the report needs to be issued out to an investigator, and they will sign it accordingly. 2026 stats. I'm going to let Lieutenant Trammell read from here because I didn't have my glasses.
So, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Adam Trammell. I'm lieutenant with the police department. Just a little bit, I've been with Griffin since 2015. So I've been in patrol, went to investigations, went back to patrol as supervisor, now back in investigations as a supervisor. So that was just a little bit about me. So these are our 2026 stats, January to May. So it says 15 reports initiated under January. So that means these are reports that investigators have generated themselves. So if somebody comes into the police department and wants to report a crime, investigators that take that report initiate their own case number. So they get their assigned cases each morning, but then these are also additional cases that gets assigned to the investigator as well. So as of January, we did 15 reports that CID initiated, 210 supplemental reports. So those are reports that they do a supplemental report to the initial report. So if they get a crime, they will start investigating that report, and then they will do a supplemental report. So January, 210 supplemental reports, made 18 arrests, and then 21 charges. So the charges, each arrest is just one person, but then we multiple charges for that one arrest. So that's how we get 18 arrests and 21 charges. So same thing for February. We initiated 9 reports, 233 supplementals for that month. 12 arrests, 71 charges. Same thing, March, 11 reports initiated, 233 supplemental reports, 15 arrests, 71 charges. April, 20 reports initiated, 307 supplemental reports, 26 arrests, 55 charges for that month. And then May, we have 14 initiated reports, 301 supplementals, 15 arrests, and 28 charges.
Quick questions on arrests and charges.
Yes, sir.
That's just on criminal investigative division?
That is just us,
So
yes, sir.
uniform division also
Separate.
makes arrests and
Yes, sir. So these stats are just for the investigation. So,
Thank you.
yeah, so an investigator sign a case, they'll start investigating it. When they get enough probable cause to make an arrest, that's your arrest. And then depending on what the offense is how many charges that they are charged with.
Anytime we do anything in any report, so it's a Uniform Patrol Division makes an arrest, but it needs to be a follow-up interview conducted, we would do a supplemental. Anytime an officer does anything involved in a case, they would do a supplemental stating what they did and when they did it. So all the supplementals may not be just for the CID cases that are made, they're just departmental-wide. Anytime we do anything, we have to document.
Are these cases also juvenile cases too, or are those separate? Is it everything?
Yes, ma'am.
So, in the month of March, so you see you have 15 arrests and 71 charges. The reason for that is because in the month of March, we had a big case that we ended up bringing the FBI into, where a male was arrested for child molestation and other things, and we were able to identify multiple children. So for each child that we located and we identified not only in the city of Griffin, but in Florida and in Henry County, we were able to, pass that information along to the FBI, but then we took out multiple charges. So one person, he sustained a lot of charges that month. So some reports or some types of crimes, especially juvenile crimes, you have more charges, especially for present children. So.
Okay, thanks for explaining. Thank you.
What is our case closing? What percent do we close on our cases?
Yes, sir. That's actually, we have that one right here.
Great.
So the national average, which is the entire United States, the national average for personal crimes is 43.8% clearance rate. That means they either made an arrest or the victim did not wish to prosecute. So that's the national average. For property crimes, such as like burglaries or anything dealing with property, is 15.9%. So our investigators, for for most months, we are at the national average or significantly above the national average for our stats. So January, so our personal crimes, our clearance rate was 52%, so that means we either made an arrest on it or victim did not wish to prosecute. Our property crimes was 16%, and you can see it just goes on. So February, our personal crimes clearance rate 41%, property crimes 29% that month. For March, 44%, personal crimes 15% property. And that's 2025, so I'm sorry. Personal crimes 34% in April, and then 25% for property in 2025. Then we go to 2026, and our numbers also increased from 2025. So in 2026, we went from 52% in 2025 to 58% for personal crimes. Then property crimes also increased, and they continue to increase. I think we was down 1 month on a property crime stat for February, but other than that, our clearance rates are above the national average. So our investigators work really hard, they are dedicated, and they like seeing people who do these crimes, held accountable.
I need to say something
Yes, ma'am.
to Jessica. For me, this is not what I was expecting us to hear, police report. Because I have no problem with how the police department is being run. What I thought we were going to hear was not from the police department perspective, but from our perspective, the policies.
They get to that. There's a lot of slides.
Not police policies from us, from a human resource perspective. Stuff that we have a choice or a vote or say so in. We don't have this, what they're doing. We don't have anything to do with that. That's not our job. They don't have to report this to us.
And going back through the executive session minutes and what was asked, it was in regards to staffing, operations, policies, CALIA, accreditation.
Policies from human resources, and maybe that was what everybody else wanted. But what we've been told all the time is what they're giving us is not our business. It's not our concern. I don't need to know this. The police department is running. It seems like they're doing fine from that perspective. What I was asking for was policy. What I asked for was policies, how the policies have changed over the years. If we've gone backwards from where we sit here to policies that affect the police department or for any other department as far as that's concerned. What I said was, when Chief Strickland was here before, we had good policies in the police department. About the hiring and firing practices, promotions and all of that. You told us that, I can't exactly remember what it was. You told us that we voted on something. We voted on something. You said that was what you voted on. Something that had changed in the policy. You told us we voted on it.
You vote on the personnel policy.
Mm-hmm.
You vote on policies that are public-facing, like the customer service policy. You'll vote on the golf course policies and procedures, because that's a public place. You have never, as far as I know, voted on Griffin Police Department standard operating procedures or policy manual.
No, I didn't think we had.
Right.
But there was something in the policy. We went open meeting and you said you voted on it. I questioned something. You said we voted on it. But when we went back to closed session, it was something to do with something that was set in local policy and something that was state mandated. those are the kind of things that what they're telling us. We don't have any control over this. I don't need to know this.
I don't know what you're referencing. If any of the other six would like to help me out, that would be really great.
None of y'all remember? Nobody except for me remember this.
My understanding, we were trying to get a review in regards to the police department's, or state of the police department, is my understanding, in terms of how they're operating and how they're going.
It was about policy, the change of policy, what has been rewritten in the policy to revert us back to some of the places we are in from our perspective, from where we have some control over, and
what the policies were approximately 15 years ago compared to now.
How they've changed
How
and
they
how they
changed.
changed back and who changed them.
Did we end up with some bad policies, and are we changing those policies? I believe that's what you're.
In actuality, I'm just not trying to just cover it all up and just. When Yates was here, he changed, and we have some bad policies. What I wanted to know was, and maybe it's just me, what he changed, how he changed it, how detrimental it was to us, and how, I'm sure that Chief Strickland has rewritten some, but I want to know where we are with what he messed us up with.
So, can you go to slide 93? That was the first request of Chief Strickland when he got here. Please rewrite the policy manual. The captains have been working on it, but without.
I want to know what he changed.
The whole thing.
I want to know what he changed, how he, what we had bad policies. We know we had bad policies. We know that he didn't do what he needed to do because it cost us a whole lot of money.
We can pull, and Cody, you might have to help me here, but in Power DMS, you have a copy of all the policies from the city for years?
It does have a little old policies in there, but the way they're archived, I can't pull them up instantly. There is a copy of one for each year, right?
Okay. See, if you wanted to sit down and look at what his policies
No,
are
I don't want to sit down because for a month, what I've been told is that this is what I was going to hear, see this morning. That was what my concern is. The policies he rewrote, how he screwed us around with the policies, and how our police department got into the place where they were, what it was that he undid that Chief Strickland had already done when he came before, what he undid, how many policies changed, how many were bad, how many were bad, what were the bad policies, so that we'll know that moving forward, we're not operating under the same thing. He told us when we came out of in the lawsuit, and I know it was a bad policy. Initially, when it came to us, he said what he was doing was right. Now, the illegal search and seizure, it was wrong, and it cost us a whole lot of money. So if he was letting his police department know that it's okay to strip search people and to do what they were doing, and I'm sure he had it on policy. He even wrote a long dissertation saying that. So what else besides that was changed that we know was illegal and wrong? And I want to know that there's none of that stuff hiding anywhere that could come back and haunt us.
So the pleasure of the board is to go back to when Chief Strickland was here last and then give you some kind of presentation about policy changes from him to Heaton to Yates to Sampson to now?
Yes, and I want to know, what I would like to know is what policies were changed to our detriment, who changed them, and even after Connie came, Chief Sampson came, what changes have been made, what changes she made, after she left, what changes were made, who made them, and what are they? That's what I asked for. And I did not bite my tongue because you know I don't. That's what I asked for. What I was wanting had nothing to do with them, with what their policies, what they're doing on there. Because there's nothing we can do about what they're doing. That's not our purview.
Well, and you don't vote on those either. So.
No, we don't. We don't. But we vote on when the lawsuit is filed and we get ready to pay it out, we vote on that.
Let's not act like it's nothing new. She did say that, we knew.
It's not been presented in that light, or I would have certainly done that.
I was thinking the same thing. Let us not all be shocked about what she was saying because she had said it before. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, to give some vindication to Commissioner Ward, I thought they just hadn't got to the part yet because we did ask for policy changes from Strickland to Strickland, but then also I remember us wanting a generic overview of everything, which is what we've been getting so far, and it's been great, so that we could have it on YouTube and people could learn. So this part, we did ask for this part as well. But you're right, we also did want the policy changes.
How would you like to proceed?
Is there something?
If whatever they're doing is beneficial to y'all, to the board and your constituency, it's fine. I have no problem with it. I just want to make sure that this was not what I was expecting this morning.
I was just gonna add in, so on slide, what did you say, 93? So the first thing when Chief got here was to, I guess, update or make our policy more current. Is that what we did? We changed it because it was bad policy or just not current
No,
or
ma'am.
not?
So it had been changed. You change it pretty consistently because you have certain things that happen. It's already changed since the initial release to the department on February 6th, 2026, because CLIA will come out and say, okay, we're going to update our body cam policy. Cody, as our accreditation manager, gets that email and says, okay, we've got to change how our body cam policy looks. So it changes a pretty good bit, and they have to go in, they're notified to go in, read the policy, they have to initial certain places and sign up to say, yes, I've read and understand this policy. However, when Chief Strickland came back, it was sort of piecemeal together from old stuff from Chief Sampson. Captain Jett even had to do a few when we didn't have anybody at all. And so he said, I want to look at this in its entirety, and he thought a policy manual was very different than a standard operating procedure, and so he changed it back to a policy manual. It has on here the improvements that he thought have been made, the different policy chapters that are in the new policy manual, how we got to the policy manual from CLIA state certification and GCIC. There's also certain case law, the statutes, public concerns, other agencies that may reach out and say, hey, do y'all have this in policy? There are some things that CLIA requires. We've even had to make a change to a personnel policy. So it depends on the accreditation standards. It depends on sometimes a national standard change, a case law change in the state of Georgia and our federal district.
Let me ask you one question. Okay. As far as promotion and personnel, like I said, which is still out of my purview, one of the things that, is this state or is this local? CLIA credit or whatever it is. One of the things that Chief Strickland had put in place when he was here 20 years ago was about promotion and ranking, about the education requirements. Then all of a sudden, 20 years later, there is no, you don't have to, according to, what was the name, the other police chief? You didn't have to get any kind of education, degrees or anything to promote up. Is that local or is that state? Is
That
that
is-
federal? What is it?
That's a local decision.
It's a local decision.
Yes, ma'am.
Mhm,
So
okay.
back when Yates was here, the educational requirements as far as associates, bachelor's, master's was removed. Instead, it went more towards what they are trained at JIT-6. So the certifications that they showed you back in a few slides ago in regards to the advanced and intermediate management supervisory certifications, they went more to that than an actual degree. Because an associate's degree in accounting or associate's degree business degree may not be as helpful as those four.
Okay, so after Yates left, that was not changed, it was left the same?
No, we have since increased it again, but it's not based on degree. Except for police chief.
So I'd like
Okay, you said we changed it, who changed it?
It's within their policy. So
Okay,
I think
is that what Chief Strickland changed it to?
well, so Chief Yates changed it. I don't think that it was ever changed again with Chief Sampson until Chief Strickland came. To increase the requirements needed for promotion.
Okay, so, anyway, okay.
So I'd like for us to continue with the presentation, and then we can summarize it in terms of any additional supplemental information as you've requested, and if it's okay with this board.
I agree. I think it's helpful. Again, y'all know how I feel about this kind of stuff. If Ms. Ward got some specific questions, just like the one she asked, if we have the people here, for the most part, that can answer those. So any specific questions that you want to ask, I think this is a great time to ask them, and we get to whatever it is we're looking for to answer your questions. Everybody needs to be informed. I agree Commissioner Fuller is enjoying the presentation. I must say I've learned a little bit myself listening to, seeing who is who. So I think we should go on with the presentation, and I would ask anybody that has specific questions, so there won't be any questions about whether or not this is what we want. We have an opportunity right now to get it out here, ask those specific questions. Chief is here. He can answer any questions about anything that he has changed since he's come. We have a records clerk in the back, and if we don't get it today, we can research it, find it, and get it out, so we will all be on the same page. So I think the presentation is going well. I think it's helpful for some of the newer commissioners and older to get all the information that we possibly can, and anything that we have something to do with, then we'll know going forward. So proceed.
Please proceed. Thank you.
I'll try to speed up a little bit. So we do have information of our operation procedures and the new policy changes. So I'll try to get through this. I do want to go back to the stats because I am very proud of our people on these stats. So like I said, the national average for personal crime is 43.8% and property crime is 15.9%. As you can see, 2025, we were above those averages. 2026, we are way above those averages for 2025.
So a benefit operation, goes back to training. So Investigator Carnegie and I went to training in Coweta County, and we learned about bin flipping operations. And what that is finding a vehicle that has an altered bin, which was something we never knew about. But just with getting that investigation knowledge, he was able to recover 6 vehicles thus far that have been converted to government use. He has saved the city approximately $50,000 per seized vehicle, and in total $300,000. And in the process of doing these bin flip operations, he has also recovered $57,885.32. And with that operation where we recovered all this money, including a vehicle, we also located a human trafficking ring that we were able to pass all that information on to HSI, the FBI, and they came to our agency and collected all the information that we were able to gather. So we saved tons of people from being enslaved. So bin flips are not just about the vehicles. You never know what you can get along with that investigation. Other property seized, we've seized 28 guns. We've seized in total $74,785 in cash, and then about a pound and 11 ounces of drugs.
Just for education purposes, because my world has, different. The drugs that we seize, do we know, are those manufactured here? Are those synthetic, or is it coming in?
So you never know what you're going to get. We were doing a case regarding dogs at one point, and we were in a house with multiple animals, and we're seizing the animals that were in terrible condition, and in the midst of that, we uncover a big pack, and we determined it was pure fentanyl. So you just never know what you're going to get. Most of our investigations, we're not doing drug investigations. We're not doing investigations. If we have a shooting, we are looking for firearms. But we're never really looking for the narcotics, but we come along, it turns up in investigations. So when it does, we collect it, and it's just a part of it. Where it's being manufactured and distributed, sometimes we know, but sometimes we just don't know, but we make sure we collect that evidence.
Most predominantly we get is marijuana.
Okay.
The problem with marijuana that you're getting now is that most of it's laced with fentanyl.
Yeah.
Even the stuff that you're buying maybe from California, when we field test it, it's coming back positive fentanyl, minor doses of it. So even though you're buying marijuana, you really don't know what you're buying when you buy it. It's not coming from, you know what I'm saying? So it's just, people have to be aware that you never know what your drugs are laced with.
Thank you. Yeah.
Granddaddy was right.
Don't do it.
Leave that reefer alone. Don't do it. Never. No, sir.
Field investigation team, the FIT unit. The mission is to FIT targets a small percentage of offenders responsible for disappropriate amounts of violent crime, bullying activity, and drug trafficking within Griffin. Basically, what the FIT unit is, it's more of a street level, street corner situation where we're having maybe a problem at this location, and they go over and make contact, or they may do an operation on it, depending on if there's criminal activity going on, engaging with the community, engaging with the youth, trying to approach it from a different perspective besides always enforcement, but trying to bring them along with you, guiding it more so than just hitting it straight on. The Field Investigation Unit is 4 officers at this time. It's Lieutenant Curtis Keys, MPO Joshua Thomason, Patrolman Trenton Hardiman, and Patrolman Ryan Bradley.
Have we always had a FIT, or is this something new into our organization, or?
Well, honestly, since I started here, we've gone through several different names. This TRU, it's been numerous names. FIT unit was created, I want to say maybe 2 years ago, to combat the street level issues. But everybody's a police officer, right? So we've used the FIT unit to deal with businesses who are selling underage, maybe business selling without a license.
Oh, yeah.
We use whatever resources we have that's best going to be able to deal with those problems.
Gotcha.
So the FIT unit is actually what would replace what was it before, the cage unit?
In a way, yes. And then before cage, it was crime suppression. It's been TRU. Honestly, a lot of times with specialized units like that, they go out and they deal with the topic or whatever it's going to be, and then my experience at the police department, sometimes manpower depletes or personnel depletes, and those units are one of the first ones that winds up losing personnel to fill in the other divisions. So they wind up being disbanded, and then if something comes up, we get more personnel, then they wind up putting a team back together to deal with the situation. We've had times before we didn't have a tactical unit at all, we just had a narcotics unit. So it's
so that the FIT unit, that would have been replace cage, narcotics, whatever. So that's what they do.
Yeah, right now, yes. Okay. FIT statistics, February is 47 reports generated, 12 felony arrests, 13 misdemeanor, and 5 warrants. February was 21 reports, 11 felony arrests, 9 misdemeanor arrests, and 8 warrants. March, 22 reports, 17 felony arrests, 10 misdemeanor, and 4 warrants. April was 15 reports, 11 felonies, 6 misdemeanors, 2 warrants. May was 22 reports, 14 felonies, 14 misdemeanors, and 4 warrants. Fit operational impact, they've conducted 16 operations. They've seized 14 firearms, 201 pills, 13 promethazine seizures, and $7,323 cash seized. Community partnerships, they've conducted 4 community partners operations, so to say, community foot races, softball game, gang awareness education, and citizen outreach. Return of investment. $74,785 seized, $300,000 in vehicle savings, $57,885 additional seized through the event operations, 725 investigations assigned in 2026, 16 fit operations conducted, 42 firearms removed from criminal activity, 28 CID plus 14 fit, 5 defendants identified and arrested, clearance rate exceeding national average. Criminal investigations not only improve public safety, but also help protect taxpayer resources and maximize the value of the city asset. So I'm going to go into crime scene. Crime scene is actually supervised by Sergeant Smith. This is the unit that usually will come and ask for equipment for that may be a little bit costly, but you will see exactly what it's used for. I'm not sure we put it in the slide, but Sergeant Smith is also a TFO that's assigned to the Secret Service, which means they provide us with additional training and equipment and resources that we wouldn't normally have. So I'm going to turn it over to Sergeant Smith.
Hello, everyone. How's everybody doing this morning?
Good morning.
As I said, I'm Sergeant Michael Smith, City of Griffin Police Department. I've been here employed with the city since 2017. I've had the pleasure of working under CID for about 6 years, 6.5 years now. I'm going to go into this. Digital forensics, I don't know how much y'all understand about it. However, as it says here, we utilize different programs such as Cellbrite and Griffin. These are the programs that we utilize to break into people's cell phones, laptops, computers, anything like that, to benefit us with digital evidence. And in today's society, this is one of the biggest resources we have as a police department to help with our crimes. Such as the case that we talked about earlier, Sergeant Reed brought with the child crime case. We brought a lot of our evidence from these devices. Yes, the city spends a lot of money on these areas. However, they are priceless when it comes to what they provide us. Again, he said, like Captain advised, I am a TFO with the Secret Service. They have provided us with resources such as training, which when we go to these trainings, we actually have one coming up in August that will provide us with a K-9 that the city does not have to pay for.
What is TFO?
A TFO is a task force officer. We are associated with the Secret Service, meaning that we can utilize their services, but we also have to be a resource for them to utilize. Meaning if I've worked with them, GBI, and other agencies to help break into devices, such as the digital forensics, to further their cases. The MOU allows us to be able to utilize their digital forensics lab, their training at no cost to the city.
The young lady that we have from Griffin that worked with the Secret Service, DC, is that how she started out?
No, ma'am. She actually works for the Uniform Patrol Division in the Secret Service at the White House.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like UPD and CID and crime scene. It's kind of like different divisions within the federal government.
Mm-hmm.
And she's more or less at the White House, and she's in uniform. So she doesn't process any equipment or anything like that.
Okay.
Just like with us, there's different divisions where I specifically deal with their forensics division.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have a question that might be a little ignorant, but Cellbrite and Gray Key, do they have a 100% success rate at extracting from these phones?
No, sir. It depends on the device and it depends on the operating system that's on the device. With such as on here where it shows you which one is utilized for what, Cellbrite being Android-based products. Android-based products are designed for basically by any of your like Samsung devices, Motorola devices, anything along those lines. Now, if you have a passcode and the software has been updated most frequently, or that Cellbrite has developed coding, for lack of better phrasing, that will specifically designate that operating system, then yes, it will break into it. However, if the person has updated their phone to the most current operating system and Cellbrite hasn't provided that coding yet, it's most likely not going to work yet. It works based off of how quickly these providers can combat the program. For instance, iOS-based products, which is utilized when we have GrayKey, Apple, as a corporation, is not very law enforcement friendly, for lack of a better phrasing. They are putting out so many updates that GrayKey has a hard time keeping up at times. However, as an operator or owner of your device, depending on how often you utilize that device and how often you update it, depends on how likely we are to be able to get into it. A lot of times, especially with iPads, stuff like that, or computers, people don't always update them as frequently as phones. Where with iOS-based products, Apple-based products, they force the updates, unlike Android-based products. So that's why it depends on which operating system that you're using to how likely you are to get into the device. And I'll give you as far, especially with iOS-based products, even if we have a passcode, with the programming that Apple does, sometimes we have to wait 2 updates to be able to get into it, even with a passcode, because of the operating systems.
Yeah, thank you, that makes sense.
I know I went a little bit fast, I just want to make sure. All right, any other questions from any other council?
Okay, thank you.
The stats for 2026, we have handled, as far as a division within the crime scene processing unit, we have handled 297 cases. That is not just within CID. CSI and CSU are utilized for the whole department. We go out no matter if it's with an investigator or a patrolman or whoever. We go out whenever we're needed, even if the investigator's not there. And they handle any kind of processing that may need to be handled, whether it's like latent print development or anything along those lines, anything as far as like ballistics, trajectory, or anything along those lines. It takes a CSI about a year to 2 years to get, actually more than a year, because it's a minimum of a year's worth of service before you can even apply for your certifications. You have to have a year as a crime scene technician, not investigator. Then you have to have approximately 280 hours of credit hours of training for it. That encompasses multiple classes. And then you have to do a 30-day internship under a licensed or certified crime scene investigator before you can even get your certification. That being said, there's a lot that goes into it. Phone extractions, just this year, we've done 75. We've been able to get successfully into 75 devices. We currently still have 7 brute forcing. Brute forcing is where the clients, such as Cellbrite and GrayKey, come in handy. And that means we have installed their program on these devices, and they are currently trying to produce a passcode. So even if we don't have a passcode, as long as it's provided or supported, then these devices can eventually be provided with a passcode. And then we can manually go through them and just generate an extraction. An extraction is where we pull all of the information off of these devices, and then we are able to manually go through it that way. That way we do not lose any kind of evidence. That's where I just explained the brute forcing stuff. 1,163 pieces of evidence and property have been taken in since the beginning of 2026. Currently, our property and evidence room houses approximately 60,000 pieces of evidence. This ranges from just documents all the way to large evidence. To get rid of that, we have to actually do a court order. I'm sure, I think we started where they have to sign off on them too. The court orders, they have to sign off on them, so
They approve, when you get a court order, then you're going to surplus the equipment, they approve the surplus.
Okay. So what it takes to do a court order, we actually have to go through multiple levels of government. So we have to have the state solicitor's signature to sign off on it, the district attorney's signature to sign off on it, and a superior court judge to sign off of it. And then just like I said, when we start to allocate stuff for government use, that's when y'all come and play, and y'all have to sign off on that. Now, any questions for me for crime scene?
Thank you.
That's excellent.
Any questions for investigations?
That's it.
Thank you.
Great job.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning. Hey, Cody, good to see you.
My name's Kaylin, and I'm over the Office of Professional Standards. Today I have Lieutenant John Kelton with me, I have Cody Ziegler, Lieutenant Brandon Walden, Brandon Zook, and Sergeant Richard Powell. I tried to, the other captains made fun of me because I was trying to describe the 3 divisions and a good analogy. So I came up with a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So UPD can be the bread, and then you have CID is the peanut butter, which is almost done. But then you have the jelly, which would be OPS, that holds it all together and makes it a complete sandwich. So with this is the breakdown of our OPS division. I have a lieutenant over training, sergeant that does hiring and recruiting. We have a sergeant over fleet management. Then I have the COP unit, which is Lieutenant Walden and the officers under him. And we also supervise and maintain all civilians at the police department, whether it's our records clerk. We had to designate one that does specifically open records requests, our accreditation manager, and our administrative coordinator. I also have the task force. I currently only have one task force officer that's detached with the DEA.
I have a question. And if I don't ask you now, I'm not going to be able to remember what it was. Okay, I realize you said, it was said that we have 86 police officers.
We have 86 positions.
Huh?
We have 86 positions.
Positions. Okay. Out of the 86 positions, how many of these are, now I see you got the record clerks and all these other folks, these titled officers. Are these officers that's titled and in these positions, are any of these on the street? These are all office jobs.
These are more of administrative positions.
So they're not street police. How many street police people do we have actually, sworn officers that actually work the street, that's out in the community?
That are in uniform patrol. I believe Captain Jett said 51. 53.
And then CID has how many?
Captain Hayes, do you know how many you have?
But of the 53 that actually are out in the community, in the cars, actually working the street.
Those are one in marked patrol vehicles. Now that does include your traffic unit and your school resource officers are in uniform patrol in those 53 as well.
53.
Yes, they're in the uniforms, the vest, the marked patrol vehicles. Those are going to be your every day that you see riding around or on the street.
Your 3 community-oriented policing officers are too, in uniform and in marked cars.
Yes, my community outreach, they are in marked vehicles and they'll wear the uniforms regularly as well.
But they're considered OPS.
Yes, they fall under OPS, just where I'm supervising them.
Okay, so in a nutshell, again, we have about 50, you say 50, I'm going to say 50 police officers that actually patrol and are out in the community. And that includes the school resource officers.
That's correct. I believe each shift has 11 officers.
There's 10 per shift.
10 per shift, which would be 1 lieutenant, 2 sergeants, and then the rest are either master patrol officers or patrol officers.
Okay. If you have an incident where, and I'd seen, and one of the things I saw was it was a filming or something, and I counted, and it was about 8 police officers around that, whatever that was. So in a nutshell, on a shift, if something happens, you got 2 police officers on a
Well, no,
shift.
if they were at a location that was a filming location, those are off-duty officers, so they're working extra time. They've been approved to do that particular job that day on their off day. We're not using patrol officers of the city to go do a private event. So that has to be approved ahead of time, authorized by the chief, and they can go work that job.
But even with that, in our community, if you got 10 police officers on a shift, is 3 or 4 of them at the, or however many, are they at the school?
No, ma'am. So you have 10 on patrol. You have your 3 SRO officers are not on patrol. They're within the Uniform Patrol Division, but they are not on a patrol shift. So 10 are on shift on any given day. Your traffic unit is also working, and your fit unit, depending on what time of day it is also working. So you have more than the 10 patrol officers out. You also have your investigators out a good bit because of whatever it is that they're getting called to. And then also your community outreach unit is out.
Okay.
Okay, it's going all the time, contact the division, there's 14 people in CID.
Okay.
And mind you, everyone has the radio on. I keep mine on in my office. Everybody does. So if you hear a certain call, everybody will go out to assist.
Even the ones with the desk jobs?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's what
I have a roster if this helps break it down a little bit for you to look at. So what OPS does, we handle everything that's not with Uniform Patrol or with CID. So we do all the budget, whether it's networking with vendors, we're doing all purchases with its equipment, uniforms, officers' uniform allowance, building maintenance, monthly bills, programs that are paid for, everything that's it encompasses. We coordinate the training within the department and within the city. We handle the PD fleet, which is everything with purchasing, outfitting, assigning, repairs, maintenance. We do the firearms range where we oversee it. We do operations, training, coordinating with other agencies for additional training. We also assist with the police department's electronic programs where we do Guardian, which is a tracking for personnel, and we do Axon body cameras and in-car. Also, we handle the field training officer program that's all electronic. That's something new that we've recently went to. Some more stuff that OPS does is we conduct use of force reviews quarterly. We conduct the internal affairs investigations. Again, we oversee the Axon products, which are also the new Taser 10s, the body cameras, and the in-car cameras. OPS also has to deal with the standards operating procedures and all the updates that are constantly coming out. We handle the hiring and recruiting, both sworn officers and civilian. And then we also have to supervise the civilians, cadets, light duty employees, and officers that may be put on administrative duty. So I'm going to let Lieutenant Kelton break it down on more of the training aspect.
Good morning, everybody. Lieutenant Kelton. I came here in 2019. I worked in Atlanta Police before that. I did a couple years there. Today I'm going to talk to you about training. Training goes pretty deep in our agency, and we'll get into that. Starting with the training division, it ensures officers have the knowledge, skills, and ability to go out there and do what we want them to do. And I'll kind of divert a lot of the attention from the policy to training. If we train officers the way they need to be trained, that's what prevents lawsuits and the city having to pay on them. Because we can make a policy however we want. If the officer violates laws, civil rights, or any kind of constitutional right, we're still susceptible to a lawsuit, whether our policy allowed it or didn't allow it. Right? So going into training, that's what keeps our officers safe, keeps our community safe, and then also reduces the risk, which is what our main job is. We're required to do mandatory training. POST, which is the Peace Officer Standards and Training Council, they require only 20 hours a year for officers. Right? Officers only have to get 20 hours per year of training. We go far and beyond that amount, but that is what they require. Breaking that down is they have to have use of force training every year, de-escalation training, community policing, gangs, human trafficking, and then also firearms qualifications. Those are broken down. Use of force is 2 hours, de-escalation is 2 hours, community policing is 4 hours, gangs is 2 hours, human trafficking is 2 hours, and then the range is around 4 hours, which also at the range, they have to get another use of force and then also qualify.
Is this their initial training, or is this also
This is yearly.
continuing it yearly, every
Yes.
year? Okay.
In a couple slides, I'll talk about what they have to do before they actually become an officer. So every year, 4 hours annually is what they're required. Minimum of 1 hour block during any kind of weapons, any kind of tactics, or any kind of defensive training, which is any kind of like defensive tactics style stuff. Griffin officers receive at least 10 hours a year of use of force training. Like I said, the minimum required is only 4. We give them 6 additional at minimum. Every year, kind of put a typo in there, but July 1st, every year, not just 2026, any new laws that come out, we hold a legal update so everybody's up to date on what new laws have changed. A lot of times those sometimes drastically affect how we do things. So we do that every year. And then ethics training, they receive a minimum of 4 hours every year. There's a lot of other additional requirements as far as training. I think Cody might talk a little bit about that. CALIA requires us to do a lot of different kind of training, such as prisoner transports, code of ethics, all kinds of stuff that we have to do every year. I just didn't want to go into every one of those. I'd be up here for a while. Defensive tactics training, we conduct those quarterly, 4 hours each block. They usually get at least 12 hours a year of that training. De-escalation is taught in depth during any kind of time we do weapons, we talk about de-escalation, any kind of tactics or any kind of defensive tactics, we always talk about de-escalation. All right, and what de-escalation is trying to gain voluntary compliance without having to use any kind of force, tools, anything like that. We also do crisis response training. Officers receive annual training on how to respond to people in crisis. Anybody that is emotionally disturbed with whatever that may be, a traumatic event, some sort of narcotics, under the influence of alcohol, whatever it may be, how to respond to those different situations. We also offer leadership development, where we teach a 76-hour, it's a 2-week course on leadership skills. We just held one a couple weeks ago. And then also instructor development, the ones that are actually putting on the training to the officers also do training so they can continue to develop and make sure that they're giving out relevant and current information. Now, the new officer, when they first come here, they go through orientation. It'd be me, Sergeant Powell, Sergeant Spears, sometimes even Captain Kruger, and then other instructors. They'll have them several days where they go out and do training. We'll do traffic stops, firearms, defensive tactics, de-escalation. They get a lot of training before they actually go to the academy, which is what we call mandate. Once they go there, they're in there for 16 weeks, every single day. Monday through Friday, they have to go there, sometimes 50 plus hours that week, 16 weeks straight. After that, they graduate, they become a certified officer, they come here, then they go through a 12-week FTO program, where they will ride in a car with an FTO officer, someone who's been trained in how to train new officers, and they spend 12 weeks with them. It's a 4-step process. It starts with them observing the officer. Then it'll go to the officer kind of does a little bit more with instruction from the FTO. Then they'll do it on their own with the FTO watching to correct any kind of mistakes that may happen. And then what we call a shadow phase, where they're kind of in their own car. But the FTO still responds to every call with them, make sure they're doing everything right. If they complete that program, they'll graduate and become their own officer. Good question.
Mandate school, which one do we recommend?
We send them most of the time to GPSC, the Georgia Public Safety Training Center.
And the cost of that now is roughly? Cost of?
Yeah, we don't
3,000.
Free?
Oh, it's free?
Yeah, we don't pay this money.
Okay.
And not to interrupt you, but I think slow. I listen and think slow. You said something when you first started that kind of didn't sit good in where I'm sitting. I understand that all this training is important, but what you need to understand from our perspective is, for us, policy is the most important. Because when you do your training and whatever it is you do, and something goes wrong, and if it's against the policy, then it becomes our problem. Absolutely. So I just want to make sure you understand that.
Yeah, no, I definitely do. Absolutely. Another thing that Chief was kind of talking about that he wanted me to bring up is this year we signed a training partnership with the University of North Georgia. Me and Chief took a trip up to Dahlonega, and we have formed this partnership where we're able to teach. I'm going to go through the list real quick, but what it did is it gives us the ability to teach at the same level as GIPSIC teaches. So we're able to certify officers, give them certifications for their supervision, their management, instructor certifications, FTO certifications. We can teach advanced firearms, advanced report writing, advanced traffic law, health and wellness, specialized patrol, crime scene, interpersonal relations, search warrants and affidavits. Goes on a little bit more, criminal procedure, emergency medical responder, officer survival, field training, different instructors, leadership, drone, and SWAT stuff.
Is that just for in our department, or could we become a training center for other precincts coming in, or is that just for our use?
So we do have other precincts coming in to teach it, yes.
Interesting.
Anybody that goes to GIPSIC can come here and receive the same level of training.
That's wonderful.
Yes, and we have had a lot this year so far that have started.
So each one of you, you're able to train, or how many trainers do we have, or we have a specific officer in that role? Or
So we have, I think it was 14.
Yeah, there was a lot of, so
instructors.
that's a lot of answers. You have
Okay,
14
sorry.
general instructors, 8 firearms, 3 use of force instructors, Keltinger defensive tactics instructor, and speed detection.
It's Holly.
Oh, Holly. So you can be a general instructor and teach certain classes, but then you have to have certain specialized certifications to teach other kinds of classes.
Gotcha.
So they
Just
say
have
they're an IT school, and I always used to think, why are they doing that? Thinking about give IT, but they're an instructor training school. So,
I just had one other question, going back, it's been phenomenal, thank you. Maybe a slide back, but for a new officer coming in, so, and I might be jumping ahead. What about officers coming from other precincts? How do you match them and fit them into that role? Do they still go through a ride-along, or, because you all are not created all the same, right? I mean, it's, how do we mold them to us, or how does that work?
So if they came from another agency within Georgia, so somewhere here, they come in and they do a 4-week FTO process. They still have to take the same test as far as making sure they understand the policies, our 10 codes, and locations, where they have to know I think 76 different locations around the city. That's for someone coming from Georgia. If they came from a different state, Post requires them to go through the same 20 hours of training. They also have to take a Georgia law program through them. It's usually done through a webinar. And then they'll usually do this full 12 weeks. And if they progress fast enough within that, we may let them out early.
Okay.
But yeah, anybody that comes here at least goes through a month of FTO.
Okay. Sorry for so many questions.
Oh, no, absolutely. All right, the training progression. So 2024, we did 8,556 hours of training. 2025, 11,000. 2026, so far we're at 6,000. We're almost 7,000. In 2026, so far, just this year, we have held 61 different classes at the police department. That's from 1 day to anywhere between 1 day to 5 days, or I'm sorry, 2 weeks. Training can be in there. We have multiple instructors teaching sometimes different classes at different places. A lot of classes we put on so far. We coordinate hundreds of hours of instructions annually to ensure that every officer is compliant with their state certification, post, CALIA, and all these things. By doing that, we can help them make better decisions, make fewer mistakes, reduce liability, increase their professionalism, and ultimately a greater public trust. The investment versus cost. So training should not be viewed simply as an expense. It's an investment in your officers, the community, and also the city of Griffin. Like I've said, well-trained officers make better decisions. They're less likely to be injured. They're better equipped to de-escalate difficult situations, and then they reduce the city's exposure to costly litigations and liability. But they also help ensure safer outcomes, greater professionalism, long-term savings. The cost of training is visible, but the cost of inadequate training is often much, much greater. I promise I'm almost done. Some accomplishments within the training division. Like I said earlier, total training in 2022 was 3,000 hours. I got assigned to the training division in 2023. It increased that year by 66%. The following year by another 57%, and then 33%. Overall, in the last 3 years, we have increased the training at the police department by 249%. quite a large number of training that has increased. 2026 is on track to be about a 300% increase from 2023, 2022. Continuing that, we want to expand instructor capabilities, increase leadership development, pursue grants, enhance scenario-based training, and invest in some modern training technology. Now, unfortunately, you got to listen to me again. I got a second PowerPoint, which is SWAT. It's much quicker. Before I get into it, was there any questions about training? You know, training is big, it's in depth, there's a lot to it. Any questions? Good? All right, moving on to SWAT. Try to go through this a little quicker. So SWAT exists to safely resolve high-risk situations. Anything that a normal patrol officer isn't equipped to handle. That might require special equipment, special gear, any kind of armed, barricaded subjects, hostage situations, high-risk warrants, active threats, or any kind of rescue operations. Our mission is to protect lives through specialized training, disciplined tactics, and measured responses. We preserve life, protect citizens, protect officers, and then peaceful resolution whenever it's possible. To get on the SWAT, there's selection and standards. It's always voluntary. They have to volunteer for these. We put out an order, and whoever wants to participate can. There's a physical standard, firearms proficiency, additional training requirements outside of the normal training, and then ongoing evaluations. So they get 8 hours a month of mandatory training that they have to attend. They have to complete the state pistol qualification, the rifle qualification, and then Griffin also has its own with a physical standard and a Griffin qualification board.
Does this change their rank or pay being involved in SWAT, or how does that?
It doesn't. They are on call 24/7. There is no pay increase for that. If they obtain their SWAT officer certification, which is about 300 hours of training through post, at that point they can get, I believe it's a 2.5% raise. On top of that, they got to do weekly training, firearms training, scenario, medical, team movements, less lethal, conflict resolution, hostage rescue. All those go into that. Now, what most people think SWAT does, forces kick in doors, right? Even some officers that come on SWAT think that's what they're going to do. It's not what SWAT does. But we spend all of our time training, planning, preparing to handle any kind of situation. Some of the things we've implemented, we train with Spalding County SWAT. They come out anytime we train, and we help train their team. We also have joint training with the Coweta County SWAT team. We do that quarterly, about 4 times a year. And then also Georgia State University SWAT this year started coming to all of our firearms training where we help train their guys. One thing that happened this year that I'm very proud of for my SWAT team, they've been recognized by the state for innovation and excellence. The Public Safety Training Center reached out to us asking us to develop a high-intensity CQB or close quarter battle, which is what SWAT is considered when they go into a house. They reached out to us and asked us to develop a class. We did. We've sent it to them. It's been approved by post. And the first class is set to run in July, where we will be training SWAT officers from all over the state. Under state funding, Griffin officers will now serve as state instructors, sharing their expertise in SWAT to law enforcement across the state. We're not only training to meet the standard, but we are now helping to set the standard for all Georgia SWAT officers. Without SWAT, my last slide, you get a delayed response, greater danger to officer, greater danger to citizens, and then you got to rely on outside agencies. With SWAT team here, you have immediate specialized capabilities, better containment, increased safety, improved outcomes, and then you have SWAT personnel on every shift. Within every division, there's always some SWAT officer working somewhere to help contain these scenes. Any questions?
So other than training or additional gear or software or whatnot, there's really no additional cost to us in the department other than those things, just to run it.
The only additional cost would be the training itself. They would be getting paid overtime if they come to training. They have to come to that on their off days, which is one thing they have to give up and dedicate is 4 hours every other week to come to training. Any other questions?
The TV style, like SWAT raid, that you mentioned, how many times a year does that actually happen on average?
A TV style raid?
Well,
Or
kicking down doors.
Kicking down
You
doors?
know.
This year, we haven't kicked a single door down, I can tell you that. Most of the time, we'll get out there, we'll, what we call surround and call out. So we'll contain the scene and we'll begin call outs. And 90% of the time, we get voluntary, they come out. And we were able to put them in custody with no incident.
And
That's
is that
typically
average?
Most of the time, yes. I would say at least at 80% average of the time, we're not having to go in that house. We would go in after the person's out to make sure there's nobody else in there, but the person in question is usually out. Sometimes before we even get there, because like I said, we have SWAT personnel on scene. They go ahead and start initiating call-outs while the rest of the team is getting there. A lot of times before we ever get on scene, those people come out, which is one of the benefits of having SWAT working all the time. So we're not there for 8 hours waiting. They're able to come out pretty quick. Any other questions? All right, and I think it's going back to Captain.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm going to cover the hiring and recruiting for Sergeant Spears. She's on vacation this week. Police officers are entrusted with significant authority, including power to enforce laws, make arrests, carry firearms, and exercise discretion in situations that directly impact public safety and individual rights. It's very important for the agencies to evaluate applicants' character, integrity, and suitability. Background investigations identify honesty, ethical standards, criminal, driver's histories, employment records, financial responsibility, and overall reputation. Background investigation reinforces public confidence in law enforcement by demonstrating that agencies maintain high professional standards and are committed to accountability. Citizens expect police officers to uphold the law and act with integrity. Agencies have a duty to thoroughly assess applicants before granting them the authority and responsibility associated with this profession. So the average process for applicant going through is 2 to 6 weeks. First step would be where the applicant places a online application through the city website. Applicants are then given a pre-employment packet. It's pretty lengthy. It comes from Human Resources, which we work hand in hand and have a good working relationship with Human Resources, as they also have a say-so in picking the employee for the position. There's a personal history, current and previous residence, family history, driver's history, drug or alcohol history, educational information, work history, military history, financial history, and personal references. There's also a polygraph packet that the applicant will complete, and then we currently use a third party that gives the polygraphs to the applicants, and they ask the questions from the packets. You also need your current driver's license, social security cards, diplomas or college transcripts, DD 2 to 14 if they're prior military, mayor's certificates. Georgia Post requires you have to have an SAT, ACT, or a Compass Accuplacer on file as well. We have an oral board that's completed in-house. We typically have 3 to 4 supervisors that will sit on it. We'll ask from different divisions within the police department. They ask applicant questions about his or her interest and experience for the positions. And there's also a packet that's turned in with the hire process once the applicant has completed the oral board. This goes into more detail on the interview board questionnaire. The members sitting on the oral board, these are what they're looking for: proficiency, prior work experience, communication skills, honesty, interpersonal skills, empathy, compassion, candidate presentation, appearance, how they carry themselves, their attitude, enthusiasm, assertiveness, problem-solving skills, listening skills, adaptability, and integrity. Also, while they're in the hiring process, we'll do in-house fingerprints. They're submitted through the GCIC and NCIC. They will also, most of the time, mirror the criminal history and driver's histories of the applicant. We do a 7-year motor vehicle report to review, as they will be, majority of their job on patrol would be driving in vehicles, so we want to have safe drivers. So then the criminal histories and driver histories are looked at, and there is a process of elimination, or if they will stop there or they will continue the process. They're reviewed to determine if the applicant will continue the hire process. We consider the nature of the arrest, if there are any, natures of citations, date of arrest or citations, and frequency. Like I mentioned earlier, the polygraph test is we currently have it as a third party where they administer it. They give us the results from it if we continue through the hire process. We do a 3-part psychological test. The answer sheets are submitted to the psychological resources in Atlanta. Then we are emailed the results, and it gives us if they are fit to continue as well with the psychological evaluation. The next process would be then a medical exam. It has to be signed off by a doctor. The City of Griffin, we use the Family Medical Center. These are also, if you see in bold where it says Georgia Post requirements, these are required and have to be submitted to Post before Post will either have you as a certified officer already, or let you attend the academy. Drug screen is completed at the Peachtree Immediate Care. Negative screening results required per our City of Griffin personnel policy. We do work history verifications. If it's previous law enforcement, we contact them for their whole personnel files. We're looking for performance evaluations, disciplinary actions, accolades, and any additional information that may be important, why they're leaving, that kind of thing. If it's a personal choice or maybe they're having to leave. We do a minimum of 3 personal references. The applicant gives 3 to 5 personal references for us to contact. We must receive 3 to have them put in for the hire packet. Then there's a physical agilities test. If you're uncertified and will be attending the academy, it has to be completed by a dipstick course. It has to be, I'll sum this up, it has to be under 2 minutes and 6 seconds. The dipstick course is currently indoors, and it's in a gymnasium where they will do all these requirements, simulating what would possibly an officer would encounter with running, jumping, climbing stairs, crawling, climbing a fence, crawling through a window. We do this annually, and we have a setup at our firearms range as well.
Mr. Holbert said he wants to.
I want to race
We
Mr.
both
McCord.
want to do this, right? All of you.
I will make that happen.
That'd be fun. We can do a fundraiser.
There you go.
So this is for new hires, but what about training for those that we have? What's the comparison to maintain or keep within a certain level, or do we do that?
So we will do this annually at the police department. So if they are a certified applicant, then they will run our course. If they are uncertified and they will be sent to the academy, they have to do it with the dipstick, and they will be timed, and it'll be in front of their personnel. But then it's carried on.
Is the course the same?
Yes, dipsticks is indoor, which I would think that's pretty fortunate. Ours is outdoors.
Cool. Yeah, I do too. Let's do it.
you put all the hire packet together. It's usually pretty thick. We turn it into Human Resources for their approval. Usually they'll ask for a start date. That's where you'll see an officer being sworn in. I'm gonna give this over to Sergeant Powell.
I do have a question. Where does the polygraph test requirement come from? Is that post?
It is required through post. The third party, and through our human resources, with making sure that we have to have a polygraph test completed.
Okay. Do we feel like that's helpful? Like, does it work very well? Like, I've heard that polygraphs are pseudoscience. They don't do what they say they do.
I've heard that as well. Sergeant Spears actually took the 11-week class to administer polygraphs. She would be the one to answer that on it, but it does have a result where there is a proof where they could be not accurate.
I will say there is a coding standard on that rule that you cannot use that as the sole reason for hiring or firing, but it does add to the packet.
Okay, thank you.
What's the percentage of applicants that we do not hire?
That also would be a good one for Sergeant Spears. I did it from 2023. I would say maybe half were not hired, a good 50%.
And that's once they even start the process. Right now, we probably have 1,000 applications for police officers that y'all don't even get to.
That is correct.
Unbelievable.
So once you start the process, there may be 50% that aren't hired, that actually send in the application and say we want to be hired, right?
Right.
The whole time. So
It does
grueling.
it does decrease as they're going through the hire process, whether it's a drug screen, a physical. We have had people fail the psychological, or they'd say they're not recommended for law enforcement. Polygraphs as well with show and deception. But that, like you said, that won't be the mere cause. We will do a totality of the whole applicant's file.
Wow.
Good afternoon, all. How you guys doing?
Hello.
Hello.
Sergeant Richard Powell with the Police Department. I came in 2019. Prior to that, I worked for the City of Atlanta Police from 2015 on. I manage the fleet, among other things. That includes a multitude of things, getting vehicles oil changed, things of that nature. I do vehicle emergency equipment maintenance. I'm involved in the new vehicle procurement and upfitting when we purchase new police cars and light sirens, and all the things that make it happen. I also handle vehicle registration, Samsara installation, as well as management. Samsara is a GPS system we use to track our vehicles. I also do the fuel system maintenance so that we can get fuel in our vehicles from the fuel keys with PetroSouth. I'm also over collision repair when a vehicle has an accident, as well as sit on the safety committee board. We do have an at fault. We interview the officers or the firefighters to determine what we did and what we could do better. I also do the retirement and end of service life for vehicles. I make the determination when a vehicle is no longer cost effective for us to use and when it's time to get rid of it. And then I also am an admin for Axon cameras, flock cameras, and Carfax for police, which are all tools that we use from all sides of the police department, UPD, CID, et cetera. So for in-service vehicles, every day I'll check Samsara. I don't know if any of you guys have had an opportunity to use it. It's a very in-depth dashboard. It tells us what's going on with all the vehicles. We have check engine lights. I can see from my phone right now what vehicles we have with a check engine light, their tire pressure, stuff like that, and just make sure that nothing's serious where we need to pull that vehicle for service. I do monthly, we get PM reports, preventive maintenance, oil changes, things of that nature. When the list comes out, I ascertain if the vehicle is in fact overdue by mileage, or you have an officer that either commutes a lot or drives a lot, or someone like myself, I live closer, hey, that vehicle doesn't need a PM because they're not putting the mileage on there. And every month I look at that list, make sure that we're in compliance and get officers scheduled for PMs when needed. Anytime someone has a maintenance issue with their vehicle, they'll call me. We'll determine what it is, and we'll get that to our vendor to get it taken care of. After hours, things of that nature. If the vehicle goes down for something more serious, I can ensure that we get the vehicle where it needs to go and get that officer into a spare car. And per our SOP, we do vehicle inspections monthly. Those will come to me, talk to people, see if we have any damages or anything like that in vehicles that are not explained or have been explained, and get them taken care of if need be. For our spare vehicles, we have a couple of spare cars weekly. I try and get out there and start those vehicles, let them run a little bit, make sure they have gas in them. This way, if we do have an after hours or a weekend emergency, the officer can get a set of keys, get right in it and go. Also ensuring those vehicles are current on their preventative maintenance. Fortunately, with our transition from Dodge into Ford vehicles, we've had a lot less breakdowns. So some of our spare cars could sit for 3 months and not be driven. So to say that we're getting an oil change on a vehicle that doesn't necessarily need it because it's only driven 100 miles, I try and ensure that continuity as well. And again, drive the vehicles every once in a while because as they are spares and they're not used that often, just drive them, make sure that there's not something that's developed so that that vehicle is good to go when it is needed in an emergency situation. All right, as far as collision repair and sitting on the safety committee board, when a vehicle is involved in an accident, usually I'll get a text message, make sure that risk management is notified. Lily and Greg Poole get that text message and get that officer into a spare vehicle as soon as possible. For there, if it's during hours, Monday through Friday, banker's hours, we'll get that vehicle towed to a repair shop. After hours, we'll have it brought to the police department secured until they're open for business. Then talk to that vendor, and determine if the vehicle is going to be a total loss. We'll keep it at the police department, for that to happen, or if it's something that is repairable, we'll get it taken up for that. Make sure that the repairs are completed, so when the vehicles come back from damage, I'll inspect them and make sure that, we don't have any runs in the paint or, poor workmanship, and when possible, using OEM parts so that our vehicles have better resale ability when we do go to surplus them. Also, we have a vinyl company that's separate from the body shop. Many of our cars that you see that are marked cars will get, previously what we have been doing was, and when a vehicle is involved in a wreck, there's a substantial amount of downtime that you wouldn't necessarily see with your personal vehicle. The vendor that we've been using is now cutting the vinyls. We'll pick them up, and the body shop that we're using is applying them at no additional cost for us. So it gets a little bit quicker turnaround when we do have an at fault, or any accident, I should say. Daily, or as they come in, when we do get our invoices from our vendors, I'll log those into ViewWorks with the system we track, and that basically keeps us up to date with when an oil change is due, things of that nature, and also for warranty-related issues. If we have something that's been repaired and fails inside of a warranty period, that ensures that we get that taken care of. When vehicles we determine vehicles are no longer usable for us just due to age, damage, repairs. I surplus the vehicles, stripping the vehicles, and getting the parts that are reusable for us in the future off, and then we get the vehicles listed to gov deals to be sold. We have a large group that'll be coming up soon for that. And then monthly, as I said, I serve on the safety committee for any at-fault vehicles with the police department and fire department. All right. I also serve as the police department's public information officer and as one of, I believe, 3 hostage negotiators. Anytime a press release comes out, when you guys get those obviously they come from me. We do those as a needed basis, or if we get some sort of request. I also do all interdepartmental and outer-departmental BOLOs, and send those to the media as needed, or other law enforcement agencies if it's more sensitive. As the hostage negotiator, I took the class at GIPSTIC to successfully negotiate hostage situations, and have been doing that for about 2 years now. And between both things, I maintain training and network contacts, just, PIOs, talk to each other, best practices, things of that nature, and also hostage negotiations. As available, I try and make it back as often as possible for continuing training on that.
Have you ever done one?
Yes, ma'am. The first one was kind of a minor one. It was a guy in a tree over by McCracken's Laundry. And there's been a couple since then. It's stressful. It's definitely stressful, but it's cool, to see, you can talk to someone and get them to resolve a situation well. So, does anyone else have any questions?
So, is it your department, or I know you work with a team, or you go to your superior and so forth on the manning chart, but Are you also responsible for assigning units to officers and then
Yep.
overseeing that the vehicles are used appropriately and?
So I would assign officers their day-to-day. So if you were a new officer, I would assign you a vehicle. If you were promoted from the road to CID, I would assign your vehicle. Having access to that Samsara, I have the ability to, if you wanted to know what car 123 was doing last Tuesday, I could get that information. Being a part of OPS, I would be part of that. But yes, that is something I have the ability to do. Yes, ma'am.
I'm just curious. You can only imagine this board. I know
Yes.
I do. I get calls about, oh, this officer went over the restricted mileage. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you can see that on
Yes,
your.
they're very in depth. Like I said, the cool thing about them is location, time. You can track a drive, but again, like I said, the check engine light thing is really beneficial, especially for vehicles that sit, or for someone that's not a car person. That oh, my check engine light's on, it's no big deal, but it might be a big deal.
All right.
Yeah.
So you have to make sure that the policy of the usage for all the equipment's not abused, and you have to investigate and go to your team.
Yes,
I guess that'd be you. So.
Yeah, that'd be a team effort. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. Good to know.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Lieutenant Walden. I'm over our Community Outreach Division. There's currently 3 of us in the division. You have myself, MPO Golden, who's over at the table, Officer Zook, who is standing behind me. With all 3 of us, you've got 40 years of law enforcement experience within this unit. So there's a lot of experience here. Objective of the unit is school-based operations, PD sponsor events, planning, organizing, supporting those events. Our responsibilities include coordinating logistics, developing partnerships, facilitating activities, assisting citywide events, youth mentorship program at the Sergeant Todd Thomas Community Center over on Ann Street. So Monday through Thursday, 8 to 12, Officer Zook and Officer Golden, they split up the elementary schools within inside the city. They go to each one and spend the amount of time at each school in the morning talking to the kids, trying to develop a relationship with the kids and fostering with them on a daily basis. In the afternoons, they'll go back over to the community center to open up that for the kids in the afternoon to come over and enjoy the community center. Delivers educational programs and presentations focused on youth development and mentorship, gang prevention, intervention, human trafficking awareness, fentanyl, substance abuse education, internet safety, cyber awareness, bullying prevention, positive decision making, and life skills, youth crisis and intervention training. Some of the events that we do, we had the Back to Blue Golf Tournament, Trick or Treat, which is downtown. Also, several places within the community called and want us to come out do that. The public safety Trick or Treat. Last week we just had our police summer camp with the kids, which had 20 kids in it. It was a good time. Another popular event is the Shop for the Cop that we do every year in December. Community cookouts, community cleanouts, helping with the second Saturday events downtown. Career days at all the schools, the back to school bash, which we'll be hosting partnership with City Church July 23rd out of City Park. It's going to be a good event. Helping out at the corn dog booth at the fair, moving the park with City Church, NASCAR whenever they come to town, letters to Santa, Hot Rods and Hounds, Public Safety Academy, June Jam, the parades, after school events, the food truck fly-in. The community center over at Ann Street, Sergeant Todd Thomas Community Building, hours of operation is 1 to 4, Monday through Thursday. We kind of use Friday as a day to make sure that we get the building cleaned up for the next week coming up and make sure it's in adequate condition. At this time, we've got 28 kids that have filled out a registration online and sent it in to us. And on average, we have about 10 to 12 kids that stop in daily to come by, whether it's to get a treat, hang out, work on schoolwork, play some video games, and interact with the officers at the building. Like I said, activities is play games, use the computers, the Wi-Fi there, in case they need to do some research for their schoolwork and they may not have it at the house. They're able to come over there and take care of it there. Since we've implemented the community center over there due to a grant that was given to us that Officer Jairus Williams did while he was here, I had to do some research and provide information to the system for the grant. Calls in that area for calls for services decreased by 50% over about a year and a half, which is awesome. It shows it's making a difference. The Griffin PD Association is a 501c3 that I started probably about 7 years ago for the police department. It helps with us putting on all these events within inside the city without it having to cost the taxpayers in the budget for the city. The biggest event that we have is the Back to Blue Golf Tournament. Every year there's 144 golfers that come out. The night before we hold a dinner so the golfers and their spouse can come out and kind of have a date night. We'll have entertainment for them, and it usually raises between $20,000 and $25,000 a year for us to hold all these events that we have. The Back to School Bash, we started probably about 4 years ago. We've always given out about 250 to 300 book bags. This year, with a partnership with City Church, we're shooting for a goal of 750 book bags to be given out to the kids in the community. Some other events we do, Shop with the Cop. They get dinner, they get to go shopping. It's usually somewhere between 20 and 30 kids, and they get about $250 to $300. If you haven't ever come out, I invite you to come out this year. Seeing the faces on these kids where they just get to run around and they get to pick what they want, it's a blessing. Sometimes it'll break your heart when you see what they do pick out for themselves. But it's a great event. We always partner with another nonprofit, just so we don't run into the problem saying, well, why didn't you pick my kid? My kid deserves over this kid. So we partner with another nonprofit in the area. Letters to Santa this year, or last year, 2025. Usually we always did it probably around 30 or 40, but with the help of people from the community and other businesses and everything, we got over 220 letters, and we were able to fill all of those with the help of the community. So between the two events in Christmas time, we help 250 kids that probably wouldn't get Christmas. So it's a blessing to be able to do that every year. Party in the Park is a community event that we do where we go over to Ann Street, bring out the grill, we cook some hamburgers, hot dogs, have some games out there for the kids to play, family to play. We'll have a DJ. It's just a good time to get involved in the community and get to know the community members over in that area. The Hometown Hero softball game is always a hit with us. It's a fundraiser we get to do with Sun City. We'll go up and we'll play a couple softball games against them. We'll play against the fire department. They have a weekend the night before where they do walking tacos, DJ, raffle prizes where it's all donation-wise, and they end up making a donation back to the PD's 501c3 and also the fire department's 501c3. So it's a great way to get to know that community also. We do National Donut Day where we go out, buy donuts, give those out. Coffee with the Cob, we'll usually partner with Truett's, Chick-fil-A. I'm hoping that when Seven Brew opens up, we can do something with them. So.
Do we still have the program or any events where kids or certain age levels can ride along or come shadow or just come on and be a part of us? Do we do anything like that?
We got to wrap that into the police camp during the week. We do a week-long program with them. Like I said, it was last week where they get to come and they get to experience the different divisions. They get to do some fingerprinting. They get to play an investigator and go ask questions and interview people. They played the traffic cop, was able to write tickets. They actually got to come to court, present their cases, defend their cases in front of the judge. So we kind of wrapped it up all in that, and we finished it off by the last day. We ran some water slides, a pool, games, cookout, music, and just let them have fun the last day and cut loose.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Awesome. Thank y'all.
My name is Cody Ziegler. I serve as the accreditation manager for the department since October of last year. Started in July of last year with the Department of the Records Division and moved up to accreditation management. The main purpose of accreditation management is going to be strictly working with the policy and making sure it falls in line with CALIA, state certification, and GCIC at this point as well. Back in February 6th, we did a full rewrite of the entire policy manual. It was honestly a kind of a mess to read through the way it was put together. Anything they needed to add in was kind of just tacked on to something, and there were several different topics in individual policies. Now, every policy, for the most part, has its own document that you can go to straight for it. If you're looking for search warrants, it's in the search warrant one, not limits of authority. It's broken down into those 6 policy chapters right there. You can see that the total, there's about 96 policies that we have. Previously, it was 45. So we've not doubled the policies, but broken them down to make it a bit easier to read through. Better organized, it's more straightforward, to the point. It doesn't have a lot of the hidden language that you have to look through for. Easier to access it because previously it was all stored on both the city share drive, or the police share drive for everyone, as well as technically it was on Power DMS, which is the software we use to do our accreditation. It was all kind of thrown around in there wherever they could throw it and just get what they needed out of it. It's been reorganized in there, so now officers can log into Power DMS and they have the entire policy manual there. They can go to whatever they need and find exactly what they're looking for. It's also much easier to update it now rather than having to get the PDF, try to find an editable version, change it. You can go straight to Power DMS and edit it directly from there to add whatever you need in that CALEA requires or state requires, or anything outside of that that may come up.
And Cody, when you do that, it's going to log who changed
Yes.
this, the date and time, and then we'll send out to the officers that they have to note that change.
Yes, it should notify them. Typically, we'll also send out an email department-wide letting everyone know that this one's been updated. They'll have to go in, and depending on what the policy is, one of the things we added in to this, previously you could just log in, sign off, and say you read it whether you did or didn't. Now, whenever officers log in, there's a timer that they have to sit there for at least a minute looking through it, and they have to take a test that's related to that policy before they can sign off on it. If it's a higher liability one or one that CALEA or state requires, they'll have to test every time it's updated. If it's a lower liability one or something along the lines of interacting with school crossing guards, they may not need to test on that one every time, but every single policy has a test for every new officer that comes into the department, so they know everything we do, and they're tested on that knowledge.
And Cody, just
Yes.
for my brain, for the policy chapters, whenever there's an update, change, deletion, or anything whatsoever, I guess we keep a record, or the system keeps a record of when that change took place and who authorized it, or
Yes.
who wrote it, or it's all there for it. Can we access this, or is this just for you all?
It's in Power DMS. There's a certain number of spots in there that are accessible. We do have some openings, so if you wanted any policies, you can always ask, and we can provide them to you. But since there's a limit and it costs to add more seats, that's something we could look into adding in, but at the moment, not on Power DMS. But any policies you want to see or ask for, you can reach out to us or go through open records and get that immediately.
Okay.
As far as the chapters go, the biggest one's going to be our field operations. That's going to be the one that covers almost everything that UPD and CID does. It has our use of force in there. It has search warrants, juvenile operations, things of that nature. And critical incident management is going to be the other really important one with most of our high liability stuff, like SWAT, active threats, things along that nature, and how to respond to all of that. What I wanted to focus on with this presentation more so was where our policy generation comes from, why we write it, where we get the information from, and what helps us make those decisions, what should be in there. So these are the primary sources that typically tell us what we're looking for. The ones on the left side are the ones I deal with on the day-to-day. They're assessed. We have outside entities that'll come in and make sure we're following our policy every year. CALEA is the national certification. We have their accreditation. We've had it for many years, as you'll see later in the presentation. State certification is specific to Georgia, and GCIC is a division of the GBI that handles criminal information, and there's a lot of policies they require us to have, and they'll come in and check us on it. So the first one we're going to look at is the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies.
Can I butt in for a second?
Yes.
Okay, so talk to me like I'm 5. What is the difference? Because my whole career here, it's
Yes.
policy, or explain an SOP or a policy.
For all intents and purposes, they get used interchangeably. SOP is going to be more so how to do something, and policy is going to be more so what you should do.
Okay.
Sort of. A procedure is going to lay out the steps you have to take. A policy is going to lay out what you should expect to do in a certain situation.
Okay.
Our policy manual is more so policies than procedures, but there are a few in there, mainly with crime scene investigation.
And that's where your CALIA oversees and yearly makes sure, what about SOPs? Is there a, do they also oversee that?
Yeah,
or-
they'll oversee all of it. What they call them are written directives. It's anything that an agency has that's binding on that agency that's written down.
Yeah, a policy, Chief and I had this conversation a lot when he first started. A policy manual, a standard operating procedure, a standard operating guideline, whatever you want to call it, that's semantics as far as I'm concerned, as far as CALIA is concerned. They're going to call it a written directive. They don't care what you title it.
Okay.
We learned in 2023 with the tornadoes, one of our CWAG goals became that year, we wanted to look at all of the policies that we had because FEMA wanted to know all the policies that we had. We learned very quickly that I think we had, 700 and something throughout the city, and some of them are as minute for an SOP that tells you how to go dig a ditch for stormwater. I don't need to review that. I don't need to approve that. I don't have a clue. I'm gonna make it worse. I don't know what to tell you. Or how to turn a water valve if you need to replace. They get, I mean, there's thousands. I think actually IT maybe had $700.
Gotcha.
So they're, what you call it is really not a problem. It's what it is. It's some kind of directive to the employee on what to do, however you want to call it.
All right,
But
thank you.
CALIA oversees that, as does the state in this instance.
Okay. I've never asked that question, so I can imagine.
It's one we've talked about a lot.
A lot, okay. All
And
right.
as far as
Thank you.
CALIA is concerned, a written directive could be the policies. It could be as simple as a memo that's sent out to the department because it's binding on every agent or every officer in that department.
Okay, thank you.
CALIA, it was founded back in 1979, and it was the first attempt at creating a set of standards for law enforcement. It was created, one of the agencies that created it was the International Association of Chiefs of Police. They came together with a few other associations to put together CALIA to give a set of standards for law enforcement across the nation, and now it has gone international to Canada, Mexico, and the Caribbean islands as well. All the knowledge that goes throughout all of those countries and states feeds back into CALIA for them to create more standards that then come back to us that we have to now follow, which gives us better policy. We learn from everyone around the country because of CALIA. It is a completely voluntary program, but it's seen as the gold standard of law enforcement. Being in it is very prestigious, as you'll see in the next slide after this one. This is our history with CALIA. We began our self-assessment, there's the word, back in 2003, which is where we told CALIA we want to join, and we started looking at all of our internal policies to see if it matched what they needed. That's about a 3-year process for law enforcement agencies. In 2006, we earned that accreditation because we either already had or updated everything that we needed to be in line with CALIA. Since we were state certified first, a lot of what we had was probably already good to go, and we just had to add a little bit more because CALIA is more extensive than state certification as far as standards go. Our most recent award was in 2023, and next year we'll be earning our next award, assuming I do my job well.
Okay. We believe in you.
Yes. This is the sort of process that they go through. The first 3 years of the assessment is going to be consistent of gathering the proofs that we're following our policies and the standards that they set forth. That can be an incident report, that could be body cam footage, that could be anything that shows we're doing what we're supposed to be doing as far as what they want and as far as what we say. They hold us to a standard, to whatever our policy says. If we go above and beyond the standard, they hold us to that and not their standard. All of those proofs, and whenever we update our policies or written directives, get added in. We put them in Power DMS, highlight exactly what they're looking for that proves that we're following what they're doing. And then we also have to fill out our statistical tables and information that CALIA looks for, such as our hiring stats, our retention rates, promotions, all of that they look for every single year. And we give them updates insofar as new precincts, anything we're looking to do for future changes, any issues we've seen with our current policies, any policy changes we've made. Every year we give them that update. And then they have a remote web assessment where someone that has worked in law enforcement typically or as an accreditation manager will log into our system, and over the course of a week, or it starts as a weekend, they look through all of the files that they're looking at, typically about a fourth of the CALIA standards they'll look at each year. See how well we're doing. If there's any issues, they'll let us know that Monday. They start on a Friday, let us know the next Monday. And we have about a week to see if we can find any other proofs that show we're doing it. If we're doing something wrong, we can go and correct it immediately and give them that action plan that we're fixing it, and that will satisfy what CALEA is looking for. On the 4th year, we have to do all of that as well as having our on-site assessment, where they will come in person to our agency. They won't look at any files in person because that's all been handled remotely, but they'll tour every single part of our facility. They'll tour the dispatch center. They'll go to anything that we have a hand in that handles the standards. After that, they'll review everything they saw at the commission meeting that year, where we will also be questioned by them for anything they need to know or want to know more about. And then if we pass, we get our award at that award ceremony, which for us will be November of next year.
So what I'm hearing, it's kind of a new area, I've never really thought about it. So I'm just imagining, so every year Jessica does the budget, which we read and present to the public. But they work on it all year long, I guess. So you all, it's alive. This is constantly, it's not something, oh wait, it's next week, we've got to get this together. So it's.
You could not do this in a week.
This is your, okay, every day, all the time, evolving, it's alive, okay.
Constantly looking for those proofs because, as I explained in a later slide, there are 467 standards we have to follow, and some of those standards are more than one standard in disguise, such as the pursuit standard, which has about 15 different bullet points that you have to prove, and each of those could be a different document. So there's a lot of stuff you have to gather to prove that you're doing what you're doing, and it serves as a way to check the agency as well. As you're looking for things, you might find an issue, and you can bring that up and solve it before it becomes something bigger.
So I would imagine you relay this back to the department and everyone on different levels, to your whatever I'm trying to say, your organizational chart. Maybe in your staff meetings, or you quarterly, or everyone's aware of it, and it's just always something, kind of like your holy grail. It's what you're.
Yeah, it's a team effort that I'm the one leading, but most of the people that are in OPS and the higher command levels of CID and UPD are all always assisting me with this. Anything I need to find, if I can't find it readily, I'll ask them, they'll go grab it immediately, because they have more knowledge as to where certain documents are than I do. But it also helps bring their attention to anything that might be out of whack that I can't tell is.
Thank you.
As far as being in that exclusive club, according to the U.S. Bureau of Justice Statistics 2018 census, there were about 1,110 law enforcement agencies in the state of Georgia. There are only about 60 of those agencies that have CALEA accreditation, so about 5.5%, and they don't break it down into whether or not they are Tier 1 or advanced. We are an advanced agency, so we have the full slew of standards. Tier 1 has little less than half of what we have, and it's what you would typically start with as an agency, but we have moved into that higher level of it. Like I said, we started our self-assessment in 2003 and earned our first award in 2006. The Gwinnett County Police Department was the first department to earn CALEA in Georgia in 1993, and Atlanta was just a year ahead of us on CALEA in 2005. So the Advanced Law Enforcement Accreditation, it has a lot more standards and chapters than Tier 1. Like I said, 467 total standards. Of those standards, not all of them apply to the Griffin Police Department because we don't have a jail cell, we don't have holding facilities, we don't do campus security, things along that nature. There's about 371 of the CALEA standards that we have to fulfill every single year. Of those standards, they're broken down into 36 chapters that handle patrol or investigations or juvenile operations, things of that nature. 33 of them apply to us, 3 of them just have nothing to do with what we do on a day-to-day basis as a department. And they are looking at adding a new chapter. They're going to vote on that, I believe, next month in their next conference. And they will be adding a technology chapter that's going to be taking all the different technology standards that are kind of thrown throughout the rest of the chapters, putting them in a new one, and implementing new AI standards that we'll have to create a policy for to go over what you can and can't do with AI as far as police work goes.
Who gets to do that responsibility?
It's a shared responsibility throughout OPS, and typically what we'll do is we're a member of GPAC, which is an organization that works closely with state and CALEA. It is a Georgia-based organization that has a lot of training and everything, and I'll talk more about them later. But they are a network of a bunch of different agencies throughout Georgia, and we can send out a message to every single one of them and say, hey, does anyone have an AI policy that we can borrow to use as a guide to write our own? And we can do that for a lot of different policies that, like, maybe we want to implement a new thing that we weren't doing in the standards before. We can go and ask them for their copy. They typically will send it over, and we can use that as a guideline.
And this too is where you will sometimes you could have a conflict where if they update their standard first before a personnel policy is updated, then how do you handle that? And so we might have to go in, update the personnel policy to address AI because we haven't done that yet. So they'll have to work with GIB to say, okay, what are we going to put in the personnel policy citywide? Is it going to be different than what law enforcement requires or not? And we've had to do that in a few different instances within the personnel policy. So sometimes you see that kind of thing come through, and it's directly related to a CLIA standard that they got.
Okay.
And I wanted to give you just an example of what a CLIA standard looks like. When you're on Power DMS, this is what they give you, and this is how you have to figure out what you're following. So for instance, this one, the Code of Ethics, they want you to have a written directive, so a policy or something along those lines, requiring all personnel to abide by a code of ethics, as well as having at least biennial training on that code of ethics. We do ours annually, as Lieutenant Kelton said earlier. So we go above this standard, but that's sort of what it looks like. And there's, like I said, 371 that we look at every year. There's also the CLIA conferences. This is where they do their commission meetings to determine whether or not agencies keep their CLIA accreditation. There's training that goes on constantly throughout them. This is where they will award certification to accreditation managers that have been in accreditation management for at least 4 years and have a lot of other requirements for that. It's a great place for networking because agencies throughout the entire country will be there. And you can talk to the regional program managers for CLIA, whether it's your region or another region, and they can help you figure out whether or not your policy meets the standard or if you need to change it or update it. They have typically some themes around these conferences. So the one that happened just recently back in March in Arizona was themed around AI, and that's when they started working on the AI standards, and they're going to vote on them in this next conference. So that's all of CLIA. Was there any other CLIA questions?
So Chief?
One coming about February the 13th or whatever, where we're current through right now.
Yes, so February 13th was the most recent web assessment we had. They looked at about 114 of our standards, and only 5 of them needed slight tweaking. But the report that they gave us back showed that we fixed everything so fast that they had no issues with it. Came back perfect.
So if it's a program where, I know you said you gave a number, 5% maybe in the state or not. Okay, so it is not necessarily a law or ordinance, but it's something that we want to be CLIA certified because, well, it saves, well, the liability. I mean, I get
yes,
it.
it has a lot of benefits. The last slide I have goes over most of the benefits you can see from CLIA and from state. They're both completely voluntary, and they provide us with the wisdom and knowledge of every other agency throughout the nation that is a part of it. Anything that might happen there will update standards for us as well.
Gotcha. And so Chief, since it was, what, 2005 that we had our first?
We got it in 2006.
Okay, and you were there, so you were the grandfather, the pioneer of this, right? Thank you. I'm sure we've...
And the policy that I've always had was written to meet these standards. We meet them now. The new policy we put back, that's why we used it. That way when we get in a courtroom,
That's right.
it's CLIA certified policy.
Got it, yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. Fabulous to know, yeah.
The next one we're going to talk about is the state level certification. It's very similar to CLIA. It was actually designed to be a Georgia-specific version of CLIA. It was created by the Georgia Association of Chiefs of Police back in mid-1980s, and they had their first manual in 1990. It's also voluntary, just like CLIA, but it provides a little bit more standards-wise for us than CLIA does. So,
And Griffin was one of the first agencies to have this.
yes, we were very early to adopting state.
Wow.
There's about 164 agencies that currently have it. Just under 15% of Georgia is in state certification. Gwinnett County was still the first one to it. They got it in 1993, and Atlanta didn't get it until 2013. We earned ours in 2000, so we were ahead of Atlanta by 13 years in being state certified. And 6 years later, we had CALIA as well. We most recently in October, just after I took over the position, had our on-site for state certification, where they looked at all of our standards, did a tour of the facility and dispatch center, and we passed that one with flying colors. We've also earned our Meritorious Award Gold version for being continuously state certified for 20 years. If you drop state certification for even a year, it resets your timer on that award. And we're on track to earn our next level of award, the 30-year award, in 2030.
So,
Yes.
going back to that, so what you just said, if you dropped a year, so it's obviously not consecutive years.
Yes.
Was this the years we could have earned it? Or
No, sorry,
it's
these are
every year?
the years that we passed our assessments. So when you're in state certification and CALIA, you're constantly updating them and constantly telling them we're doing well. With CALIA, they check you, not in person, remotely every single year. State does not come in and check you every single year.
Okay.
They request an update from you, and you fill out their form telling them any changes that have occurred or anything like that. So in the 4th year, when they check you, they can say, you told us you updated it, whether or not you did.
So they're looking at all the years in between,
That
not
makes
just,
sense.
oh, no, now we gotta know to get it together because it's our year to be reviewed. It's all the
I got
years in
you.
between that they're gonna review.
Yeah, when they
That's
do their
just-
on-site, they check all 4 years
Okay,
for it.
makes sense?
So it's very similar to the CALIA guide timeline. The first 3 years, you're getting your proofs and your written directives, uploading them, highlighting them. Instead of doing simmers for doing the stat tables for CALIA, they request the annual compliance report where you tell them what all has changed, where you're going for new, any issues you've had. And they also take an annual data collection every single year, which is more extensive than the CALIA one. They ask about pursuits, uses of force, all of those sorts of things, and then release a report every single year around February from every agency, giving you updated stats on everything going on. In year 4, that's when you have your on-site assessment. They'll check all 4 years of files from your agency, as well as touring all your facilities similar to CALIA. They'll be reviewed by the SCC and the JRC. The JRC is the committee that actually determines whether or not we keep our certification, and it's made up of sheriffs and chiefs of police throughout Georgia, at which point they'll issue out an award. Typically, it's about a 2-month period after they do their assessment of you that you'll hear back and know. So the breakdown of standards for state certification, they only have 141 standards broken down into 9 chapters, but they have a program rule where if you have CALIA accreditation as well, they'll remove any overlapping standards. So they won't double check you so long as you can prove you're still CALIA compliant. We have about 30 standards that are in the state certification that are not in CALIA. So altogether, we've got 400 standards we're checking on every single year between the 2 programs. This is what their standards look like. They don't have names for their standards, but this one's important to show kind of how a bulleted standard works. So for this particular one, orientation would prove showing that we got the agency's role and everything. But working conditions and regulations are going to be proven from a different document. So GPAC, the Georgia Police Accreditation Coalition, is an organization that's been put together throughout all of Georgia to help agencies on CALIA and state certification, help them network, give them training. They do training meetings every other month, and last week I was at the summer conference with them doing training, and it's an amazing networking opportunity. You can meet a lot of people, get a lot of business cards, and get a lot of policies that you can use to hopefully improve your own. They also provide file reviews. So you can go to their meetings and give them about 10 files, and they'll look over them and tell you whether or not they think you're on track, or they can even provide a mock assessment where someone from another agency will come in, look at your files, and see if you're doing well. So you can have multiple checks throughout the year. Finally, we're going to talk about GCIC, the Georgia Crime Information Center. It is a division of the GBI developed to help modernize information on criminal activity. We usually utilize it for warrants, stolen guns, things along that nature. It informs you what's going on if you find something on the street. The reason it's important is they have a lot of different requirements for us, a lot of policies that are required. This is just a few of those policies. There's about 5 more that they require as well, such as acceptable use, disciplinary action if people misuse GCIC, disaster planning, should it be man-made or natural, what you do with the files that are in the department. They also require agencies have certain roles. I serve as the terminal agency coordinator, so I'm the direct contact for GCIC with the GBI, and I handle all of our policy updates with them. Should there be any changes that they need, newer policy, I'll inform everyone. We'll get to working on fixing that. They also require that if there's any operation between 2 different agencies that involves GCIC information to any degree, there has to be an agreement between those agencies, and it has to be updated every single time there's an agency head change. So the GCIC policies are audited typically every 3 years. It can happen sooner than that, but usually it doesn't diverge from that unless they think there's an issue going on. Our most recent one was last year in March, so we're slated to have the next one in March of 2028.
If not, I mean, is there a probationary time? Is there a penalty, or is it just strictly?
There are penalties. To my knowledge, if we fail the audit, we lose access to GCIC. There can be sanctions that they can place on you, and there can be up to a $50,000 fine to individual people for misusing it.
Wow.
They'll check on our agency policy, and they'll check on our compliance with their policy that also we're bound by. So to go over a few recent successes we've had in the department, like I said, back in October, we passed our on-site with state certification. We received that notification early in December. In February, we updated and restructured all of our policies on Power DMS, and we had our second remote assessment in February where we passed with flying colors. We got that back in March, and to give you an idea of our policy, our proof updates, when I took over the position, Kalia had about 10% of the proofs it needed for the entire 4-year cycle. We're now up to 64% of the proofs in 8 months, which is something that typically Kalia would expect you to take 2 years to do. Our upcoming timeline for assessments, so in September we've got our next Kalia remote assessment, and then our 4th Kalia remote assessment will happen in May of next year. They'll come on site in July to tour everything and see how we're doing, and then we'll go to our award ceremony in 2027 to answer any questions they have, and they get to make their final decision while we're there. And then, like I said, we expect to have a GCIC audit in March of 2028. This is the breakdown of the benefits to being in those voluntary programs, CALIA and GLECP. So as long as people know what these programs are, it can increase your community advocacy. You get a lot of support from different government officials, DAs, and judges that I heard from when I went to the conference last year in November. They love when agencies have these accreditations. It helps them have peace of mind when they know they're dealing with them in cases. It gives you a lot stronger defense against civil suits because you can have all of your policies already updated from the knowledge and everything going on with other agencies and their suits. Reduce risk and liability exposure, greater accountability within the agency because you have, like I said, a better, more broad policy manual for them. It is a recognition of outstanding achievement for an agency, and it gives you continuous review and improvement throughout the years.
Do you think, okay, I see the greater accountability within the agency. I was just thinking of your environment and the way you all perform together. I guess that's what that means, right? The accountability. But
It gives them
Make no
officers a
sense.
better understanding of how to do their job by having a more up-to-date, robust policy manual
Sure.
based upon the standards that they release to us. I believe that's the end of my presentation. Were there any questions on policy generation or individual policies?
Very thorough.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you. Great job, Cody, and team.
All this is just one slide showing where we had to give one of the records clerk positions where she's full-time doing open records requests for the police department. As of from January 1 to June 15th, this shows where there's 1,132 open records requests for the police department, and there was 277 from the whole city.
Wow.
Just wanted to show that, and I believe that is it.
Excellent job. So Chief, do you have any closing comments or anything? Or we can open up for questions?
Everybody picked up on the fact that COLEA reduces your liability for civil lawsuits.
I picked up on that. I did. Got it.
And the whole policy has been redone, and it is COLEA compliant.
So do board members have any questions? So Chief Strickland, I've been on board now since 2004, and this is probably the first time we've ever had a detailed presentation of the functionality of the police department, which I think was, I want to commend all of you for an exceptional presentation. A lot of times we look at perception versus reality. We have hearsay, we have innuendos, rumors, and sometimes those take our perception and take it out of reality. I think you appreciate what you're saying, but I'm not so much focused on hindsight 2020, looking back to 2020 and before. I'm looking at Vision 2030. Where are we going in the next 4 years? I think your team has done an exceptional job today presenting what they're doing, and personally, I'm very satisfied. And I just want to thank you each for what you've done today. I know it's been 3 hours out of our lives, but I think it's been very important to give us a crystal clear understanding what you do every day to make sure that you protect the citizens of Griffin. So I just personally want to tell each of y'all and tell everyone, all your subordinates, everybody else, I'm very appreciative and thank you.
Well, I appreciate y'all because I relish the opportunity to come and give that education to y'all from them and let you see what kind of people you have. We got some really good folks.
Yes, sir.
Work hard.
Any other comments or anything else from anybody else today?
Doug, let me just say one thing after listening to all this. What you've heard this morning is working. And the proof of that is the fact that you have right now, I think, 2 civil lawsuits. And both of those are very minor claims, which probably, I would predict, are going to get dismissed at some point. We don't have the 7, 8, 9, 10 suits out there. We don't have the 15 lawsuits we had, 3 years ago. Those claims have gone away. And they've gone away in large part because you've observed the fundamentals of the basic civil rights law. You've got good policies, in fact. The COLEA policies are nationally recognized, and the courts certainly have recognized that where a department at first has adopted their policies and the officer has followed those policies based upon their training in those policies and the supervisor's enforcement of those policies. And even when the policy is found to have been violated, there's been meaningful discipline administered. Then there is no liability imposed. You know, policing is not a perfect situation, it never will be. It takes a lot of discretion. And I think this speaks very highly of our police department. I mean, I've come to know a lot of the officers individually and know the caliber of people that we're hiring. And I think we do have good policies in place, and we need to be mindful of it. Let's keep it that way.
And for those of y'all know, I serve on the Georgia Police Officer Standard Training Board the past year, and I hear nothing but praise and accolades from other jurisdictions, state, local, sheriff's department. But what I have found out, it's not so much the mess up in terms of making a mistake. It usually is the lie and the cover up that ends careers. And so it's a whole lot easier to ask for forgiveness and take corrective action versus trying to cover it up and tell the lie, which ends up killing your career. So your Griffin Police Department is well respected, and thank you for your service. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion.
Commissioner Murray with a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wright. All in favor? We'll see you tonight. Thank you.